Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello. How's everybody doing this fine day? What is today, actually? That's Wednesday. For a second, I was like, is it Tuesday? Do I say it's a fine Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. This new work schedule I'm on is screwing me up. Let me tell you. Completely. Whew. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about Mordian Glory and a brief back and forth he and I had. Well, this is the fourth part, because technically there was his initial video, my comment, and then he talked and responded to my comment on his live stream that he had yesterday, I believe. And this is what I hope to be the final response in this back and forth he and I have had. I didn't think this would turn into a video on video thing. Actually, I thought he would ignore my comment. But I'm actually glad he responded to it, and I'm going to be happy to respond to his response here. But I do want to make clear, before we get into everything that's going on. Hey, Pierce, welcome to the stream. I do want to make clear, Mordian Glory is a great guy. Okay? Now, I know how I am. I could be a bit of an asshole. That's how I am. That's how I talk. So if I come off as adversarial or frustrated or irritated or confrontational, that's just how I talk. But know that through and through, I think Mordian is probably one of the better 40k channels out there, especially if you love the Guard. He is your man if you love the Guard. And generally speaking, great guy. Very non-political, non-controversial, pretty good guy. Excuse me, I almost burped there. So I want to make that clear. And additionally, his channel will be linked in the description of this stream. So if you get nothing else out of this stream, there's a link to a quality 40k channel that you guys should check out. And, you know, despite this little back and forth that he and I have had, I still love him. Still been supporting him. I've been a channel member of his for like over a year. So that's how much I love this guy. You know, I think he's worth supporting directly like that. So I want to make that perfectly clear before we go any further. All right, great content, great guy. But I do want to talk about a little back and forth. Now, before I do, I'm going to give about a minute for people to kind of zip in. So I'll have a back and forth convo with the chat, see how everybody's doing today before we get into the fun stuff. So how you doing, Pierce? I did nerd. What's going on here? We'll get into it. But how you doing today? Mordian is great. Mordian is great. He is a very good guy. X-Force. Actually, yeah. Hold on. Let me check something. Well, yeah. Yeah, I have the crossed las guns in his, yeah, 1 year, 10 months. Okay. So, yeah, almost 2 years, actually. I'm good. Just took a shower. Nice. Nice. You washed off all the work juice. I've yet to do that. I literally just got home from work. Yeah. Worst part about today was definitely, like, getting texted on Discord and being told, like, hey, by the way, in Mordian's live stream, like, he responded to your comment. I'm like, fuck, I can't even watch it right now. But I was able to watch it during my lunch break, so I'm not going in blind to what he said in response to my initial comment. But I do have some things to say. And again, I'm trying to avoid like my usual kind of tone. Like I said before, I know how I come off. I am an asshole. Generally speaking, I can sound confrontational even when I don't mean to. Sometimes I mean to make a point punctuated, and it can sound very pointed or aggressive. That's not my intent, but as we're gonna go into today, intent sometimes gets kind of a little bit muddied in delivery. Nearly a bolter, Sergeant. Aye. Unfortunately, I do... this is unrelated to this, but I do have to cease support for Mordian, because I need to save some money. Because I have a trip coming up, and I need to... And every penny I can save, I need for it, so... Just for a short while, I need to stop my membership for Mordian. But again, it's not related to this. I'll turn it back on, probably in September. When I can, when my expendable income actually becomes expendable again. I've been picking up heavy desks all day. I'm not gonna lie, like seeing my workplace so completely emptied out because we're cleaning everything is just it's nutty. Stretching my fingers. Alright, so I guess that's everybody in the chat right now. Alright, so we'll jump into things here. Actually, before I do, I did just post about this. Hey, Gunner, how you doing? What's happening? We'll get into it, but I had a back and forth. Excuse me. I had a back and forth with Mordian Glory, and hopefully this is the last fourth or back, whatever this is at this point. I actually wouldn't have, and I said this towards the beginning, but I wouldn't have thought to make this a stream or a video until he responded to me on stream. So I felt it was appropriate to just do the same. That way we close the chapter on fair grounds, I think, in terms of form of response. Not about Kabi Glory. No one's perfect, you know? I still like Krieg more than Maccabian. I'm sorry, Pyrrhus. I just do. Krieg are better. I'll fight on that front. Are you fine with me posting tweets of mine in the server? I do that because it's easier to repeat a subject. I do that because it's easier to repeat a subject? I mean, I'm fine with it. I won't respond to it all the time. I barely can respond on any of my Discords lately. Work has been keeping me dragged along. By the time I get home in the evenings, I'm just... Boo, hiss all you want, you know I'm right. His reply to you was fine in my opinion. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. I have one umbrage with his reply to me, but like I said, we're outside of that. I think generally his reply was fair. You applied for a job yesterday? Nice. I hope you get it. It's easier than just retyping a sentence. True. Also, Steel Legion are the best. Don't agree. It's Krieg, man. I'm sorry. Like, I know that at this point, Krieg are kind of played out meme, but I was a fan of them before they became the played out meme, so I don't stop being a fan just because everybody else is like, whoa. Edward Bailey, what's with this? Also, welcome, Edward Bailey. What's this with you and Mordian? We're getting into that now. Yeah, so I think we're ready to get into it, so let's jump into the topic. So, Mordian Glory, you guys know him, and again, awesome content creator, awesome guy. Please check him out. Channel is linked in the description of this stream. And know that from here on out, you know, I'm going to speak directly with like this back and forth he and I had. But just know that it's contained here, and I hope that this back and forth ends here. Obviously, like, I don't mind him responding to this last bit, but assuming that the dissonance isn't the right word. Assuming that the topic is safe to end here, I'm fine with his response just being like, yeah, fair, or yeah, no, I don't agree with you, and we move on. But that's kind of like the intent here. But Mordian Glory, awesome content creator, very non-political, very non-controversial. If you guys like Guard in particular, he's the man to go to. Love him. He's awesome. Does great streams, great energy, solid guy. But he recently released a video. Games Workshop is dead. Long live Games Workshop. Now, I watched this video on my spare time. I was just kind of going through my videos, going through my recommendeds, and this popped up in my recommendeds. I'm like, oh, Mordian uploaded. So I went to the video, and I listened in, and I took umbrage with what Mordian had to say. Now, I'm going to play a segment of it. I don't want to play the whole thing, mainly because I don't know if Mordian's okay with that. If Mordian were to jump into chat and say, hey, yeah, go ahead and play the whole video for full context, I'd be happy to. But until I know that, I'm just going to play the segment that's relevant to what I'm talking about and my points. So I'm actually going to start with my comment and then show the segment of his video that triggered my comment. And then we're going to go to his response, and hopefully that works as like a thorough through, you know? I like the new Guard models, but I hate how I hate how now there are 3 of every troop in the codex. Let's all be adults here and not act like Dev. Well, we're certainly going to try. It's a shame. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic. So I'm gonna read the comment first, and then read the segment. Actually, no. I'll let you. Why am I doing this in reverse order? I'll play the segment that triggered my comment, and then we'll go to my comment. All right. Here we go.
All the people working at GW are new people. And that's not necessarily to say that new GW is worse. We have, credit where credit's due. New GW has done an amazing job of bringing 40k to the mainstream, of normalizing tabletop hobbies, of bringing. A lot of people say, "Oh, gatekeep." No, don't gatekeep.
So off the bat, I strongly disagree with Mordian here. Strongly, like, I say it in my comment, but to reiterate it here. GW is 100% not responsible for their own success. I really don't believe that. They're responsible for their initial success, but their overall success into the mainstream, they are not responsible for. That is on the fans. That is 100% on the fans. Do you think even like 10% of the new people coming in came in because of anything directly GW did for advertising that they paid for? That they promoted, that they did through their channel and through their direct means? No. Most of the new people that have been swarming in over, hey, welcome Guardsman 13, and welcome Fast Run is not fast. Welcome Fast, I'll call you that. The vast majority of new people over the last like 5 or 6 years, give or take, have been coming in because of what I like to constitute as 2 to 3 main sources, at least on the online side of things. Recently, there's been another uptick because of the secret level thing. Now, you can give GW, I guess, 50% of the credit for that because they gave permission for the secret level to make the animation, but I don't give GW any credit for that either. Like, they gave permission for someone else to take their work and do great with it. I'm sorry, I just don't like to give credit to the IP holders for giving a green flag for the usage of their IP. I'm sorry, you don't get credit for that advertising. That still goes to those people. So in terms of direct efforts by GW and the Warhammer, the channel, they have the vast majority of the people who are coming in probably never saw anything before they saw Astartes, before they saw Bricky's Every Faction video. As much as I dislike Bricky, I really do, you can't take that away from him. He, in one video, did so goddamn much to have this hobby blow up. He helped it move up massively. He gave it a spotlight GW couldn't have hoped to give it in 1,000 fucking years. So, Bricky's video, Astartes, which similarly got people asking the question, what the fuck is Warhammer? And then the Emperor, and much older, but still a valid one to bring up, the Emperor's text-to-speech device. That series got people asking, what is Warhammer? All of those are fan-made productions, and they all did far more to erupt this hobby, this niche hobby, into the mainstream. Now, technically, this hobby was mainstream in the 90s, but by the mainstream like idea of we have it now, where it's like viral, where a single 40k video, whether it's lore, whether it's miniatures, whether it's whatever the fuck, gets millions of views just by having the tag of Warhammer, really that's only started to be a thing in the last couple of years. Mainstream, in terms of just public awareness that it is a popular war game, it's been there since the 90s. So it depends on really what we're talking about for category of mainstream. But I'd say, based on what me and Mordian are kind of talking with vibe-wise, I'd say it's of like the internet virality. And in that regard, you can't give that credit to GW. I'm sorry. New or old. Irregardless. They got lucky. They got lucky that a talented community with lots of passion did the legwork for them. Genuinely. And of course, the video games. That's true, Havoc. Also, welcome, Havoc. The video games also can't be discredited. And again, that's another secret level situation where I don't really give GW credit for what Relic did. I don't give GW credit for what Owlcat did. I don't give GW credit for giving the green light to use their IP. Those are still tangential to them, not direct products of them. Now, to be fair, with Dawn of War, I think there was a lot more direct consultation with people at Games Workshop. And in that case, I'm definitely going to give them more credit towards Dawn of War. But like every other instance, I'm sorry, I give credit to the studios and publishers of those video games. And of course, with the YouTube videos that I just referenced, I give 100% credit to them and 0 to GW. GW, again, I cannot say this enough, got fucking lucky that their community is consisted of a lot of talented and passionate people that were willing to do the legwork that they could never have hoped to do. So, really wanted to stress that. So, off the bat, when I heard him say this, I did a double take. Like, I was like, what the fuck?
Honestly, I was there when 40k was a very niche hobby, and it was 50% of the people that were in there were the kind of vicious, bitter, mean-spirited fucking turbo autist fucking fedora wearing nerds. 50% easily.
Now, we're gonna get into this, but this also pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie, because he already had me like he had my heckles raised with the comment of giving credit to GW for pushing Warhammer into the mainstream, but this pushed me over the edge to kind of irritated, almost angry. I wasn't quite like furious because it was Mordian. I don't know if I could ever truly be mad at this man. Like, I don't think I could sit here and like look at him and go, Ugh! I don't. He would have to say some outlandish shit for me to go that far. But this was close because, like, this is now, to be fair, this could be a case of Britain/UK versus America. I'm American. I got into 40k at the very beginning of 7th edition. Technically, end of 6th edition. That's when I got into 40k. I do not think I could even if I'm being hyperbolic, which we're going to get into, but Mordian says on stream this was a hyperbolic statement. And to be fair, we all make those. We all make exaggerative claims when we're trying to be funny or when we're trying to be, trying to stress a point. That's fair. I'm not going to hold him to that number. But it's still, I'd use the word audacious to go 50%. Like, that's huge. Hey, James Knighton. To be fair, Mordian does have his issues with Jimmy. I know he does. Let me make something clear. I'm not accusing Mordian of bootlicking or backing GW when they don't deserve it. I do think he's giving them credit they don't deserve. I don't think he's like bootlicking or anything like that. That's beyond the pale of what I'm saying. But what I am, I forgive you for being American. I forgive you for being British. But I do think this is a separation potentially of Britain versus American, because the American, at least my anecdotal experience with the community back during the beginning of 7th edition, end of 6th, was nothing but positive, with the exception of one or two hobby elitists that I ran into, and everyone around me that was cool and was awesome said, "Oh, don't listen to those guys. They're just assholes. They're just picky. They're just like don't listen to them." And I didn't. And they made up maybe, and this is me being hyperbolic, maybe 10% of my interactions with the 40k community. And this is in person, LGS, my local store, my local hobbies, and tournaments. I'd say if I'm being hyperbolic, 10% of my interactions with other 40k fans was with these hyper fedora flippin' assholes. These elitists. These guys who, the moment they see anything wrong with their miniature, they're like, Judge! 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 Those assholes. Or the guys that will literally, like, the moment you look, like, around, they, like, move your miniatures. Yeah, I dealt with that if I'm being exaggerative, 10%. Now that being said, that 10%, I could tell you like 2 people I knew who I tried to get into 40K who swore it off because of assholes like that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that those guys didn't exist. But to say they were 50, and in those examples, that sucked. That was wretched. But that goes to show you that 10 or less, really, % of people can ruin a hobby. You don't need to give an exaggerative number like 50%. But again, this is hyperbolic. He's obviously pushing the number. But 90% in-person interactions with other hobbyists and other great people in this community, in this space. Positive as hell. And this is like 7th edition. Where a lot of people complain that the game was like too complex or too like misbalanced or whatever. I don't remember it being that bad. But to be fair, nostalgia goggles. But even if like I can say this with confidence, this is not a nostalgia goggle take. It was nowhere near 50%. Like it wasn't even like every other time I went to a hobby store. It was usually only at tournaments, and almost everybody like hated those guys. Like we all had solidarity in saying fuck you to the asshole who was like a big fat tubblard douchebag in the corner. Like that, you almost made friends off of flipping off the dudes who were being rude and obnoxious. If anything, it made the connections I made at my LGS growing up stronger. Ironically, the douchebags made the rest of that 90% positive even better. Because it gave me the 2 extremes. You know, it gave you there's the asshole in the corner that ruins the time for everybody else. And here's all the cool dudes who will sit there and tease that guy with you, have fun, play your games together, and ignore those douchebags. Because with 13, I know more people who were put off of how complex it was than the idiot in the corner. Same. I would say like the 2 people I know who were pushed away from the hobby because of hobby elitists, definitely dwarfed by the number I've met who I try to explain the game to. Total, like, you know, their eyes would glaze over. Just, what? like that's true. So yeah, this point in the video, Mordian hit me with like a 1-2 punch of like, what the fuck are you talking about? But let's keep going.
Were those people, and honestly, thank fuck those people basically don't exist in 40K anymore. Like I've just got to say that. All right, a lot of people glorify this idea of gatekeeper.
I will say this: they still kind of do exist. But they are. The one thing I would definitely agree with is that there are less of them, but I think they've been replaced by people who are worse. I do. Like, my positive interactions have definitely gone up post 8th edition, I'd say. But I've definitely met more people who I have positive interactions with, but I know I have to walk on eggshells around, more so than I did the douchebags. Here's what I mean. So, with the hobby going mainstream, especially a lot of it in recent years because of internet stuff, you have a lot of people coming to the hobby shops who, when you first meet them, you first talk to them, they seem really cool, seem really nice, and they are cool people until they bring up, usually not all the time, and it's rare, but when it happens, you know, oh shit, I can't talk to this person about just anything to do with this hobby, is when they start bringing up politics. Now, this is another like cultural difference between the British scene and the American scene, apparently, because we're going to go into the live stream portion later of Mordian's stuff. And he brings that up, that in the UK, apparently, it's a faux pas to bring up politics. And it is, for the most part, here as well. But there are still, I guess, unlike the UK, it's less, like, obeyed. Like, here, you go to a hobby shop, someone brings up politics, everyone's kind of like, come on, man. But if they do and they push it, you know, at that point, people just kind of like, oh, okay. And they just kind of either engage with them, or they ignore them. I've been forced into the position of keeping my mouth shut because I don't feel safe debating with them. Because the way they talk and the way that they addressing things, it's very clear that these are people who are petty as shit, that they're extremely underhanded with how they treat people. And though they might be nice and fun to play with, if you socially push the wrong button, just saying, it's happened more. So although it's only one side I found, it's only one side. I am from UK. Okay. So it's only one side, as in like only in America does this really happen, or it's only one side, as in like one political avenue does this kind of stuff. There's families that don't tell each other who they are voting for. That kind of happens here too, to be fair. That does. But yeah, generally speaking, though my direct interactions have improved, like I haven't come in, I'm going to say this, and this is where I'm like the antithesis of where Mordian is with this. I miss the assholes. I do. I miss the dickheads. I miss that elitist who would look at your miniature and go, "You didn't draw your gun barrels." So, oh, you better do that. You know that can get you disqualified. No, it fucking can't. Fuck off. You know, like I miss that guy, because here's the thing: you never had to walk on eggshells around those guys. Well, if you were a pussy, you did. But if you were, you know, at all backed up by the people around you, like I said, there was that camaraderie, right? Everyone in the room hated that guy, so it's not like you were afraid to tell him he was an asshole. Probably in a more polite manner, but you know, I as a kid I walked on eggshells around those guys, but it's because they were older and bigger. As an adult, I miss those guys. Oh, I miss those motherfuckers. Bring them back. They're better than that fake ass nice people you run into who you feel you cannot have a straight conversation with without them turning into a diva. I miss those guys because they were out in front assholes. Give me that back. I want the honest, upfront dickhead over what we're dealing with now. Now, granted, that's the modern example. I am experiencing about as much as I experience those assholes, so it's at most 10% of the time. 90% of the time, it's still positive. So for me, I haven't noticed a giant shift. The shift has just been in who the 10% asshole is. That's really it. That's true. It's quite humbling matter when you beat them on the tabletop. Yeah, that was always satisfying. I only did that one time against a particular douchebag, but really, that was because he fucked up. And he knew he fucked up after he did it, but I wouldn't let him undo it, so. That is very true. I am much fatter than most. Okay, I'm going to let it play a little bit more, and like I said, I don't know if Mordian's okay with the whole video, so I'm going to play it a little bit more. But just so you guys know, at this point in the video, I'm already, like, totally disconnected for where Mordian is at.
The 40k community is so nice. It's so good. It's so mainstream.
For the most part, it is.
99% of the people that are there now are actually normal fucking people who are just a bit nerdy. And back in the day, that
again, for the most part,
normal people that played the game were constantly getting bullied and pushed out of it by the fucking sweaty, fucking awful people. All right, the real toxic kind of knobhead, the toxic nerd. You know what I mean? So. You know, like, and you know, and you know, you can be really, 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 really nerdy, but you don't have to be a cunt. And the thing is that
true.
There's many different kinds of nerd. There's normies that are a bit nerdy. There's nerds that are a bit normie. There's everything in between. And there are dickheads all around. But there was a mean streak in the 40k community. That's fucked off now. They've all been pushed out, and that's good. That is a good thing. And
all right, I'm gonna stop it there. But again, if you want the rest of the video, both the earlier part we didn't watch and the latter part, please check out Mordian in the description. But that's like the part I wanted to play for like context of why I made my comment the way that I did. Oh, he looks 12. I will say this. Welcome, Nathan, by the way, you sexy son of a bitch. But I will say this: I envy Mordian's youth. He looks younger than me, and I think he's older than me. If I'm not if I'm not mistaken, I'm 25 for context. So I'm almost 26. Jesus, few more months, boys. Few more months. Fuck. I feel like a blink, and I'm already getting fucking ancient. But yeah, that's the context I want to play. So that is what sparked my comment. Is that segment right there? That, and there's a later part where he directly says that new GW isn't evil. He didn't say they were good. I do want to throw that out there. And I never said he said that. But he did say they aren't evil. And that, when he said that, is when I actually typed my comment. You're old. I know. I'm ancient. I'm dying. You can see the wrinkles growing on this bearded face. If you're careful, you might see some balding spots here, A little bit of gray hairs growing. But yeah, that sparked this comment. When he's older, he is 30 plus. He's 30 plus? Oh, okay. Damn you, Mordian! Give me some of your youth. Okay. So, with that, in the video, and then him later saying, GW isn't evil, I got fumed, so I decided to make a comment. But, again, I kept in mind, this is Mordian. I like Mordian. He's a cool guy. And, totally hits most of the time with his videos. Awesome dude. So I tried to keep that in mind as I responded, frustrated. So I said, let me make sure this comment's fully visible in the stream. All right. New GW isn't evil, quote unquote. Looks at new GW has been up to in just the last couple of months. Sued 280 plus online sellers for simply using the word Warhammer for IP infringement. One of the 280 plus was a BattleTech creator selling a mouse pad with the Warhammer mech from BattleTech on it. They attempted to sue a man over an IP they don't own nor have any shares in, as far as I know. His PayPal got frozen and he was forced to spend over $900 USD on a lawyer to get off the suit. Numerous tiny fan animation channels got struck down completely on YouTube. A Border Prince, this is new by the way, I didn't make a video on this because I've just been super busy, but I wanted to, but I guess this will kind of service in place of it. A Border Prince got 2 copyright strikes, not claims by the way, strikes. Far worse. You get 3 and your channel's gone. For context of those who don't do the YouTubes. You get 3 of those fuckers, that's it. Channel gone, annihilation, every piece of content you ever made, poof. Unless you have it backed up on your hard drive. It's gone. So 2. He basically got shot between the ball sack. That close. But he got 2 copyright strikes in a row, forcing him to delete all of his lore content on YouTube. I meant to put on YouTube to avoid it being done so for him by the quote-unquote not evil company. Sorry, Mordian, but if none of that constitutes maliciousness, which is an evil in its own right, it is, to you, I don't think you know what evil is and shouldn't be telling others that it isn't. Additionally, you are way overblowing the amount of Giga Nerd autists were in this hobby back in the day, and you're also overplaying GW's hand in bringing 40k into the mainstream. They didn't. The fans did. Fan-made content like Astartes and If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device did far more to bring people in than anything GW did. Heck, Bricky of all people did more to bring 40k into the light of the mainstream than GW did with his every faction video. Simply put, I don't think you are right about anything in this video, which is a bit exaggerative. As I just conceded, he is right about these minute points. But, again, anything in this video except maybe Warlords being better than GW, but that ain't hard, which it's not. It really takes you just being slightly less litigious to not be on the same level of shitty that GW is. I say this with no hate, but blunt honesty, which is true. I don't hate Mordian, by the way, for his take. Obviously, this is a difference of opinion. But I did take umbrage with the part of the video that seemed like he was praising them for things that they didn't deserve. I really took umbrage with the fact that he was giving them credit for bringing 40K into the mainstream when they didn't. I really didn't like that he was over-exaggerating how bad the community was before this current era of GW. Again, it's just 50% is comically too much. And I get that he was being hyperbolic, but just 20% would have been a big number to put out there. But half? Really? I just didn't like that. And plus the overall, and like this is what I took away from the overall message by the end, is that he was saying that GW was policing their community better than back in the day. And we're going to get into this, but he accuses me of, well, accuses, it's a strong word, but I'll use it. He accuses me in his live stream, as we're about to get into, of taking him out of context with my comment that I have here. I don't agree. Now we're going to get into it, but I don't agree with him saying I took it out of context, because this comment is within context. Like, the part of the context of his video is that he's talking about how GW is so much better now because they've policed the community, right? They are helping to bring into the mainstream, and thus that results in, less shitty people. But part of policing the community that GW has done, which is intrinsically related to new GW, is these points that I brought up. Now, we're going to get into it, but he thinks that this is me taking this whole thing and starting a whole different conversation. I don't agree. This is intrinsically linked with the other aspect. To pretend that this right here has nothing to do with the other, I just think is totally missing something. Like, if you want to believe that these are not connected, that's fine. I'm not going to say that Mordian has to agree with me that these are intrinsically linked, but I think it's just a fact that they are. Because this is part of how they've been policing the community. Part of how they've policed this community for a long time has been through litigious action. So when you bring up how they are creditable for the community getting better, thus policing it, I think that's perfectly within context to bring up an aspect of that policing, which has been through litigious, brutal actions that are just kind of comedically absurd. So let's get into the live stream portion. So I've got a finite part of this. Again, if you want to watch the full live stream, which you should, the whole live stream isn't about my comment, or even even my comment is a very small portion of this stream. But if you want to check out a stream that's just kind of fun to watch, Asmogan Silver. Do I already got some? Huh? Hey Hammer. Hey Hammer. I almost want to say, I always want to call him Triple X Hammer, but there's no third X. There's just X Hammer X13 Thor. I'll just call you Thor. Hey Thor, GW is just switching its fan base and will push hobbyists out for normies and tourists that batter the IP. That's true. That is very true. GW. Hey Nico. Hey, GW invents a time machine to sue the guy who created the concept of Warhammer. They would do it. I bet you ass, if time legality was a thing, they'd do it. What time? Yeah, I mean, Mordian is a great guy. Like, outside of this little segment we're going to go into, this live stream is also awesome. Like, he has a fun time, great energy, very entertaining. The man is, in my opinion, Mordian is a born broadcaster. Me, I have a finite battery for, like, my energy levels. Sometimes that battery is extended when I'm, like, hyped for, like, a specific thing. But, like, generally, I have a finite battery to kind of bleed from with like live streams and stuff and video making. And I'm trying to improve that battery every day, but that in that regard, I'm not a good broadcaster. I think I'm a great broadcaster in terms of like quick snippets. I think I have a pretty good personality. Y'all can be the judge of that. But I think where I lack is like keeping that energy going for like long hours. Like he went for 7. I rarely do 7-hour live streams. But yeah. Anyway, let's get into the segment where he responds to my comment and others, but I don't know how much I want to go into responding to his replies to other comments. I do want to focus on his response to my comments.
to find it much at all. Some of them are more relevant than others, but we'll go through. Okay, we'll go through. So, Asmogan, by the way, shout out to Asmogan, fellow content creator. New GW isn't evil. Look at what New GW has been up to.
See what I mean? You can't be angry with the guy. Like I left a pretty heated comment, and he was still nice enough to shout me out. So again, quality of character wise, he is awesome. That's why you can't really hate the guy or get that angry at his takes. It's just in this case, it was so much that it just frustrated me.
The last couple of months, sued 280 plus online sellers for simply using the word Warhammer for IP infringement. One of the 280 plus was Battletech created selling a mousepad with Warhammer mech from Battletech on it. Numerous tiny fan animation styles got struck down on YouTube. A border prince got 2 copyright strikes in a row, forcing him to delete all his lore. Sorry, Mordian, with none of that constitutes maliciousness, which is evil in its own right. To you, I don't think you know what evil is and shouldn't be telling others that it isn't. Additionally, you're way overblowing the amount of giga nerd or artists were in this hobby back in the day, and you're also overplaying GW's hand in bringing 40k into the mainstream. They didn't, the fans did. Fan-made content like Astartes and the Emperor had a TTS device and far more did people than anything GW did. Heck, Bricky of all people did more to bring 40k into the Latin mainstream than GW did with his Every Fact video. So, but I don't think you're right about anything in this video, man, except maybe Warlords being better than GW, but that ain't hard. I say there's no hate, but blunt honesty. No, that's fine. So, here's the thing, though. I didn't fucking say anything about Asmogan. You're arguing I'm getting something I wasn't even really going on about. I was talking about models. I was talking about rules. I was talking about flavor.
And this is where we start to get a bit like of a current disagreement. Now, I showed you guys a portion of the video. In that, I don't think he was being specific to just the miniatures. He was being very broad. And specifically that segment I played, he was speaking about the GW's credit broadly of Warhammer entering the mainstream and the community improving, part of that being the implication of their policing efforts. Now, granted, he didn't go into specifics of that, but if anything, I'd say this is either an example of poor communication through those parts, because if he was solely talking about it, I don't think he did enough to specify that. Now, I played that segment, and again, you guys feel free to go watch the full thing, but am I completely, am I off my rocker? Or was he being a little broad? Because when it comes to, the community improving and getting better, when I hear him say that, and, how GW is to be credited for bringing in the mainstream, I don't hear all that, and then my immediate is, oh, he's just talking about the miniatures. He's just talking about the rules. For me, I heard a much more broad statement, which, again, part of that effort, you could say, of GW and the community getting better and their policing efforts has been their legality and their litigious behavior. So I think that this is still a valid point to bring up in relation to what Mordian said. And look at what GW did to Arch. Exactly. A very good example. GW has used litigation as a form of policing the community. They're doing it currently. And Mordian, you brought up, man, in your video that the community is getting better because of GW's efforts. That, to me, translates to their overall efforts. Part of their overall efforts has been their piss-poor treatment of the community through litigious action. Thus, my point, I think, is completely valid to bring up. Yes, you didn't bring up the legality stuff specifically, but you also didn't exclude it. So I don't think it's unfair to bring that up. I don't think I'm wildly going into left field while you're on the right field. Now, it's one thing if you feel that way and you feel you were a bit more clear about it. I'm just going to tell you, frankly, from my perspective, you weren't. End results being what they are. And it'd be one thing if I was alone in my corner and I was just this weird psychopath that read into what he was saying incorrectly. But as Mordian goes in, I'm not the only one who left a similar comment about this stuff. Hello, Dandrius. Arch. Arch question mark. The fan movies alone are a mess, and the law stories of GW. GW is trying so hard to make the hobby so lame as it can be. Whole Guardsman Army's lore is old and not selling. That's a rabbit hole. But yeah, GW is unfortunately it's part of their mainstreaming efforts, and ironically, again, their efforts to make 40k mainstream have resulted in neither improvement. Actually, sorry, not neither. It's resulted in no improvement. Every single time there's been a surge of people joining this hobby, I can correlate it directly with something they have not done. It's like, oh, there was this surge. What happened here? Oh, TTS. Oh, this surge. What happened here? Dawn of War 1 came out. Oh, there's surge right here. Astartes. So far, not GW, not GW, not GW, not GW. Again, they got lucky. 40k has blown up because the community are talented, because the community are passionate, because the community love this stuff. You just love what they did to the Steel Legion. Like the last 2 hours of him opening boxes. Oh, like the miniatures he got sent? Yeah, it reminds me. I still gotta... Because I got one guy in my Discord who really wants to send me some stuff, so... I gotta open up a P.O. box. Mordian's like a golden retriever. Well, you tell it. He's like a golden retriever. Well, you tell it walks. I'm not sure I understand. Can you clarify, Edward? But as I said, I don't think that my comment was out of left field or completely inappropriate for what was being said, and I don't think it was one like I don't think what he said was exclusive to the miniatures and tabletop. Like at all with GW's efforts to police and to influence how the community is quality wise, which is what he's talking about, is not their litigious actions against people like Arch, against people like A Border Prince, against Syama Peterson, all this other stuff that are part of the community, infinitely important parts of the community on top of it. Is that not related to the topic? Meanwhile, the Chem Dogs get nothing in the new codex. Yeah, of course they don't. I haven't seen anything in there for them. My Mad Max Aussie scavengers still get nothing. Sorry, man. Welcome, Prince of Crows. I meant with the Guardsman armies, some are no longer mentioned or don't even have models, rules, or lore books. Yeah, a lot of things got relegated to Legends. Now, I'm not a Guard player, so I can't speak to how like a personal effect of that on me. But what I can say is, from like being a fan of a specific Guard army lore-wise, it has been interesting to watch GW in 10th. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they relegate, like, basically in the rulebook that you can play any regiment you want, but you have to play them as either Krieg, Cadian, or Catachan, right? You can only play those 3 play styles. Otherwise, like, if you wanted to play, like I don't know, Valhallan Winter Soldiers, there's no, like, separate rule set or separate, like, stuff for them. You have to play them with the other 3 rule sets. So you have to ask yourself, okay, do Valhallans act like Cadians, or do they act like, yep, okay, so there you go. Yeah, like, when I heard about, my heart goes out to the Guard players. It really does. Because so many great regiments just got basically shat on. I feel so bad for you guys, I'm sorry. I really am. I'm an Orc player, primarily. I mean, obviously. Like, like, I'm getting into World Eaters now. And I have my Space Marine army. Like, those are the 3 I play. But the main one since the beginning of, like, 7th, for me, has been Orcs. Orcs got me into 40k. This is where I got my start. So, but that being said, like, I've always been a fan of Krieg since I first read about them way back when. I love Krieg. I guess in one sense, I'm kind of grateful that they're one of the 3. But I do feel really bad for people who are major Valhallan fans, people who are Vestroyan fans, people who are Maccabian fans, etc. Like, it is a tragic thing to see on the sidelines. All right, let's keep going here.
Talking about the different epochs, the different era.
I didn't go into anything about. I can't remember exactly. I might have touched upon it in passing, but I didn't say anything about them going after small sellers.
I know. It's not a matter of what you went into. Like, I wasn't critiquing that you talked about these things in a wrong way. You didn't talk about them. Meanwhile, you're saying GW isn't evil, but they're doing these things. And I would say this constitutes as evil. Now, this is also something I want to respond to, because his chat also, like, this is normal, all right? Before we get into this part, this is normal. His chat, obviously, like, they jump on what he's saying and exactly what he's laying out about, like, my comment. And they all kind of, jump in me. And one of them claims something I think is completely brain dead. One of them says, well, what he doesn't realize, speaking about me, is that all companies do these things. All companies sue people for IP infringement of an IP that's not theirs. Please tell me when Ford sued somebody over World of Warcraft. Please tell me when, I don't know, fucking Apple sued somebody over a Pepperidge Farm thing. And I don't mean sued Pepperidge Farms. They might have done that. But I mean sued some normie, regular weirdo out there for something related to Pepperidge Farms. Really? They do this all the time, guys. Really? Point to the other corporations doing that shit. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's at least one or two others that have, but to act like they all do it, and also, secondly, this argument that, oh, well, they all do it, like that's an argument that it's not evil? That is not bad? All murderers murder. It's suddenly okay, guys. All rapists rape. It's suddenly okay, guys. That's gonna be so bad clipped out of context. Like, it's such a brain dead statement. It's terrible. I think that's the appeal to authority fallacy, but I don't even think it's authority. Like, appeal to majority, maybe. But since when has everybody doing a thing made it okay? Like, by that argument, oh, everybody that did slavery way back when, what they did was okay and was good. Is that really the slope you want to jump on? Yeah, all companies are evil. 100%, that's true. But to present the argument against my comment that, oh, well, everyone does it. Well, why does that matter? My point still stands. They're an evil, shitty company. Bandwagoning? Yeah, thank you. Bandwagon fallacy. It's just it's a silly, vapid, brain dead argument. And I think anybody who makes it, you do not think about what you're saying. You genuinely are not thinking about what you're saying at all. And I don't even hate you for it. I feel pity. I feel pity that you have that little analytic ability. And I'm not saying I'm a super genius for recognizing that it's evil and you don't. No. That's just it. This is, for me, like a 5-year-old should be able to get this. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm not going to, like, name them, but the chatter that said that shit. I'm sorry. But you're an idiot. Anyway, then that's not to Mordian, by the way. That's just to the idiot who happened to be in his chat who said that shit.
I didn't say anything about them taking down a border prince or anything like that.
And you didn't have to. Again, that's why I brought it up. Is that I think and I believe this 100%, it relates to what you said. You were talking about how new GW has, through their efforts, made a better, kinder community. And said that this is proof that they're not evil. What I am presenting is the other side of it that you didn't address. That I think is completely valid in relation to the conversation point. The conversational point is that new GW is not evil. and that all these efforts that they've done have resulted in a better community, a better hobby. And I'm here to tell you, I believe this 100%. This is not a diss or anything. You are wrong. I love you, man. Again, one of the greats in this community. But he is wrong on this point. Or on that point, I should say, not this point. So, yeah, again, like, he's... and I do think this is genuine, but he's reacting to this like oh, why did you bring this up? It has nothing to do with what I said. It does. That's 100% how I see it. I'm not changing the topic. I'm not shifting away from anything. I'm addressing the points that you didn't. And I think that it need to be addressed in relation to Warhammer and in relation to Games Workshop. Because if you're going to say a charged statement like GW isn't evil, you can't ignore the parts that make them so. And again, I don't think he's ignoring it. I think and I do think this is where there's a divide between us. You know, Mordian is not ignoring these things. He's not pretending they don't exist. None of that. I don't want to make that at all sound like what I'm accusing him of. What I think is happening here is Mordian he's coning himself. He's like, okay, I love 40k. Here's the parts of 40k I love. Let me only focus on that. And because of that, he's making broad points like he made earlier, with the greater 40k being better and crediting GW with that. But because of that cone, he's not seeing these other things that I just brought up that are happening in tandem with all of that stuff that he's praising them for. Which, again, they don't even deserve the praise for, but that's beside the point. So to him, I get that he sees this as a complete deviation from what I'm saying. Or, sorry, what he was saying. And that he thinks these are completely out of left field and completely unrelated. They're not. These are directly related to what you said. I'm sorry that you don't see it that way, but that's the case. You know? Like, I don't think I'm coming in like a bat out of hell, out of nowhere, right? I don't think that.
Like, this is... I didn't mention any of this. Like, I'm not... to be clear, I'm not disagreeing with you on any of this. I think these are all fairly... I think these are all important things, but it's not what it's not in the context of what I was talking about.
I disagree. 100% I disagree. It is 100% within the context of what you were talking about. You were talking about GW having been responsible for bringing in new people and their efforts resulting in the community getting better and then ending it with the conclusion that they're not evil. I disagree. I think they are 100% evil. Are they especially evil compared to other companies? Depends on which one you compare them to. But overall, no. I'm sure we can all think of worse companies. Like, I know a banana company that's worse than them. Obviously. They're not the worst company on earth, but in regards to our shared hobby, in regards to our shared community, they're the worst. I can't think of another tabletop, company that's anywhere near as bad as them. I mean, can any of you guys in chat? Please, by all means, point to me like the grass is grayer, I guess, over the Horizon company that I don't even know about. Because as far as I understand it, in our sphere, you do not get... They are the quintessential example of horrid in our sphere. So when you were talking about them and praising them for like a better community, you can't just say, oh, I'm only talking about the miniatures. What I brought up is completely out of left field and invalid to the conversation. I don't agree. It's completely valid to what you were talking about. It directly relates to the quality of GW and the efforts that they have put in to police this community.
This is a separate conversation.
I don't agree.
And additionally, aware of blowing them out of Giga Nerd Autis, we're in this hobby back in the day. I I'm not saying it was like 50% of all players. Maybe I made like an off.
I mean, you did. He's about to say it that he was hyperbolic in saying so, but you did say that.
Hand comment. I definitely am known for exaggerating for a comedic effect, but I would say that there was one or two in every single gaming group. Every single gaming group, and you you would be lying if you said you didn't see one of these people put someone off the hobby for life.
Correct, I would be lying. But I'm not. Because I have seen people do that. Like I said, I know 2 people who swore off Warhammer because of a really bad experience with one of these fucking assholes. But I know even more people who were put off by the complex rules, and I know even more people outside of that that got into the hobby in spite of those people and made awesome, fun communities that made great LGSs to go to back in the day. Yeah, you always had the fucking Mongoloid, right? In the back. I don't know. I know that people get antsy about that word now. I don't know why. But the fucking douchebag in the corner, right? They've always been there. And I would even argue they're not gone. Like you go to a tournament right now. They're still there. They're just A, better at hiding it. Because now they get in trouble if they do it openly. And B, they're still just as smelly. They're still there. They're just, A, they're not as populous. And B, they hide it now. But they're still there. And the void that they left was filled in, unfortunately, by, again, politically charged people that have entered the hobby. I'm still having that 10% negative experience. Again, that's still being a big number. It's more like 5%. That percentage of bad experience, it's just with people I don't feel comfortable speaking with honestly and openly about, or with. I don't even feel safe talking to them honestly about the lore. Because I feel like if I say just the wrong thing or just the wrong opinion, they're gonna, secretly start trying to, like, screw with my friend group at my local LGS. Like, they feel like snakes in the grass. I prefer the douchebag in the corner who would come over and, like, be an ass. Because at least he never hid that shit and did it to you, not behind your fucking back. Yeah, you smell them before you see them. I just say, they smelly fucking guys. I'll tell you where most of them went. They went to Yu-Gi-Oh! Prove me wrong.
Yeah. Now, sorry, Vivek, he's mentioning it to counter you saying GW is not evil. Yeah, but...
Oh, Vivek, you were there.
He's mentioning it. I understand that. He literally says that at the beginning, mate. And I understand he's introducing a new point to the conversation. I see that. But it's sort of like, I wasn't talking about that. That's a separate conversation. Does that make sense?
And again, I don't agree. I think it's directly related. Now, obviously, his intent was not this in relation, but Vivek mentioned, yeah, like his intent. I will acknowledge that the intent here is clear, and I apologize for responding to your unintended remarks, but I responded to what was there, and you made I would say a broad statement in regards to GW being credited with the success of Warhammer and the quality of the community going up via their efforts, which I directly associate their litigious bullshit with that, because that is directly against and towards the community. I don't think I've ever seen GW sue like a major corporation for putting in a reference to them somewhere. I've seen them always go after the little guy. They are the bully on the edge of the corner. They are the mob boss with the bat. Always around the corner, ready to take the 5-year-old's fucking lunch money. So I don't see these as separate conversations. Now, I would see a separation if you were like, if you would really stressed in the videos, like, I think GW are not evil, specifically only in regards to the tabletop and like the Warhammer shop quality. Because I'm sure the shop quality has gone up. I mean, I have no doubt they put a code of conduct rule at Warhammer stores. which there isn't one near me at all. My local LGS is just a hobby. It's a hobby shop, but it's not owned by GW. They're just affiliated with them. But like the nearest Warhammer like actual like branded Warhammer store to me is like a state away. I'd have to travel 3 hours to the nearest Warhammer store. So I can't say what it's like for the rules in them. But if they're anything like my local LGS has for rules, both tournament-wise and like everyday play, yeah, I'm sure the quality of people has gone up. Like, but again, to circle back around, unless I missed it, you didn't specify just that. You were talking broadly enough that I certainly think my comment is valid for what you were talking about. Well, that's prices. I'm talking about like code of conduct here, Havoc. Don't you live in the ass end of nowhere? Yes, I do. My LGS is 30-minute drive. That's my local hobby shop. But yeah, I live in the woods. I'm a woodman. There's a joke there I can make. No, I'm not gonna do it. That's beneath me.
Like that, if I'm gonna, I can make a video discussing that thing, but you're talking about a different topic,
which I would encourage you to do.
Topic to what I was talking about. I was talking about old GW versus new GW, the different eras that happened. Hence why the video is called GW is dead, long live GW. It's a paraphrase of the king is dead, long live the king. So this, I'm not saying, I want to make something clear. Asmogan is raising some great points here, but this is points outside of the conversation. Does that make sense?
And again, I disagree.
So he's taken this new GW isn't evil, and then he's taken it out of the context that the sentence was said in.
Now, this is what made it so I'm making a stream about it. But everything before this, I could have left a comment. But he's at this juncture, he's kind of stepping over, not stepping over the line, because I don't want to make it sound so serious. But he's made it to a point where, like, I feel the need, I have to respond. Because he's saying, like, and again, accusation is such a strong phrase, but he is stating that I did something I quite frankly did not do. And I've shown you guys the context that triggered my comment, genuinely. Like, just one's in the chat if you guys think I put it out of context. Two's in the chat if my comment is in context with what I showed you earlier. Or if you've seen the whole video, preferably, is two's in the chat if it's in context even with the whole video. I'll give you guys a second. Let's try. All right, we got twos off the bat here. Two whole vid. Big fat hard two. Okay, so so far anyway, most of the chat's twos. Like I said, I 100% stand by that. What I said directly correlates with what you said in the video. Now your intent, I will acknowledge this. He's stating now in his live stream after the video has been made that his intent was, okay, I just meant like this sequestered part of things. That's fine. I still think you're wrong about giving them credit for Warhammer's rise into success in the mainstream. But at the very least, with like the argument that, within the community and stuff, the stream has been posting a stream discussion on Mordian's server. Yeah, that's fine. And again, by the way, Mordian, if you jump in at any point, I have a link in the description of this to my call line Discord. But even if you don't want to do that, which is fine, if you don't want to do that, I am on Mordian's Discord server. By all means, man, DM me and we can have a talk right now. And if you want to do it in private, I will turn off the stream and we'll have a conversation in private. I would love to do either. Whatever you want to do, man. Unless if you're fine with what I've said thus far, that's different. But yeah, that's fine. Anyway. But as I said, I stand by 100%. What I said was in context with what you said. Your intent, after the fact, I'm sorry, it didn't come through that way. It felt too broad of a statement. I definitely felt my comment was appropriate with what was the context within the video. So I guess my recommendation would be next time, be a bit more clear. Easier to start streaming tonight. Oh, is he not available right now? Well, that's fine. That's fine. Well, if he... Okay, Mordian, if you see this after the fact, after the video and everything, hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're doing great. And text me, DM me anytime, man, if you want to have a conversation. I would love to. Maybe not even about this. If you just like to talk about your day, dude, let me know. But yeah, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna let it play a little bit longer. I think that's more or less. I think we're actually, ironically, I think we're kind of at the end of my bit here.
And then it's introducing all these new, very valid points, but also kind of not what the conversation was about, if that makes sense.
I'll tell you this right now. That motherfucker. I'll tell you this right now. That Mordian could kick my ass, okay? I have won exactly 4 games in 40K. From 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. 4 editions. I have only won 4 games. I have lost more than I can count, okay? Ironically... Sorry, no, sorry. My count was including 1 win being a whole tournament, so add 3 to that. I've won 6 games. I won a whole tournament at the beginning of 10th, because I got lucky that everybody got confused by a couple rules, and I fucking walloped everybody. I actually got a combat patrol out of it. But outside of that, I have only won... Like, Mordian could mop the fucking floor with me. There's a reason I'm more of a lore guy. I would love to do battle reports, because it'd be an excuse to also get better at the game. But motherfucker, he could mop the floor with my ass. So if we're having that settle it, he wins.
Let's have a look.
Oh, Tiki
like I said, Asmogan's point was fairly well done.
Thank you.
Asmogan's point was very well done, and I have a lot of time and respect for him.
Same.
But I feel like it was slightly you're making a good point, but it wasn't really what I was talking about myself.
And I acknowledge your intent with that, but again, going off of what you actually said, I feel like you definitely left room for that interpretation into your broader statement.
It's kind of what I was saying. Anyway, this is very soft. I literally just saw this as I was chatting. I wanted to give Asmogan a bit of a shout out.
Okay, and this person here, I won't say their name, but someone in his chat said, yeah, he's dragging the conversation into the battlegrounds. He wishes to fight. I think this guy is also missing the point. No, that's not what I'm doing. Hey, Zoid Industries, that was not what I was doing. Again, I believed and still am certain that what I said with what he said in that video, his intent, not really be damned, but for the purposes of like my comment and the points I was addressing with what he said in the video, his intent was kind of damned in the fact that I just don't think he didn't translate what his intent was into his words well enough. Because again, I'm not the only one who left a similar comment. So this is if there's a lesson to be learned here, Mordian, let it be that you got to be a bit more clear, man. Like if you really want to cordon off your points from I would say a related topic, you really need to, like with chalk or like a chisel, like really nail in that line. It's like, okay, I'm not talking about this. That's it, completely unrelated to my points. This is what I'm talking about. Because I'm not the only one who didn't get what your intent was there. And I responded to what you said, not what your intent was, because I didn't know what your intent was. But yeah, he's dragging the conversation to the battleground. He wishes to fight. Just not true. In fact, one thing I passionately hate doing is, especially with people like Mordian, I hate when I get these like moments where I feel like I'm dragging them in to the greater like, yeah, to the culture war, but also just to a fight that they don't want to be in. It doesn't even need to be the culture war. It could be like just like the female custodies thing. Like my co-hosts on the Voxword podcast did not want to talk about that. And if I'm recalling correctly, we didn't really talk about it all that much. I think we might have like roughly mentioned it at one point and then moved on. But I try my best not to drag people in to that kind of thing when they don't want to be. Whether they agree with me or not, regardless. Like if people don't want to be involved in drama, controversy, like big time fights like that, I don't like dragging people in. I don't want to do that. And in Mordian's case, I know he doesn't like that stuff. And in this case, I would make the argument, my comment, I did try and avoid politics, necessarily. I know other people brought up DEI in the comments somewhere, but I didn't. Because that is completely disconnected from this. Part of what I wrote here was keeping to hobby stuff. Because this is, unfortunately, an aspect of hobby with GW is their litigious nature. Especially if you 3D print. If you 3D print anything, be aware, GW hates you, and if you advertise it anywhere, they will go after you. It does not matter if you are, if by all legality you are transformative, they will still go after you if you give them just enough reason. They are at war with you. Even if you buy plastic minis all the time, and even if you don't constantly tell people, hey, don't buy official minis, buy this, our 3D printed stuff. If you tell people, hey, buy what you can afford, but hey, here's some minis I also produce if you wanted to add to your armies in unique ways that GW might not have. You know, even if you do something like that, really vanilla shit, and you really make it transformative, they still hate you and want to destroy you. It's a part of it. But even regardless of that, I do my best not to bring up culture war stuff when I talk to other people like Mordian who don't want to get involved in that. I try and leave that at the door. It's one thing if I talk to Arch, right? Like if Arch and I were to get on a call, I could say whatever the fuck I want to him. Well, obviously, like in the context of like Warhammer. Like I could talk to him about like the BlackRock acquisition stuff. I could talk about the female Stodies stuff. I could talk about all that crap. I could talk about DEI initiatives that they're clearly like pushing in their corporate ladder. I could talk about that stuff. But to someone like Mordian, who I know doesn't want to get involved in that, I'm not going to bring it up to him. I will leave it out of my comments. But something like this, the lawsuits, their lawfare against their own community, I don't think that's political. That's not partisan. It shouldn't be, if it is. Like, whether you're a lefty, a righty, a centrist, it doesn't fucking matter. We should all be able to agree that GW treats its community poorly and should stop. Right? And that this litigious nature that they have, though they never will, we can still, call it out when it happens. We can still push back against it best as we can. But it should be called out when it happens. That's one thing I like, Mordian. Leave politics at the door. Exactly. And same thing with hobby shops, by the way. Like, leave it at the door. I have my politics, and I'm never afraid. Like, if it's just me on a video, you guys know I'll say whatever the fuck I want. But I'll never drag somebody else into it, especially if I know they're not comfortable with it. And, I don't do that stuff.
Let's see if we can...
So, like, that comment of, like, oh, I'm bringing it into my battleground. I'm not. I made a comment directly correlating with what he said in the video. And if his intent was otherwise, I'm sorry about that. It just didn't translate. And I hope it does translate better. Like next time.
I mean, you've got another sort of similar one up here. That's true. I have to admit, I think Janovic, I think the reason Janovic crashed out is frankly because he's probably massively sleep deprived. I'm sure.
I don't know, Mordian. I think he's serious. I don't know. Like, I also was meant to make a video about Janovic's, but I kind of held off because I've also been considering something in relation to it. I'm not quitting 40K, by the way, but I am, like, considering content-wise like maybe some shifts, because yeah, I'm gonna do a stream dedicated to that conversation on its own, but a stream and a video. I'm gonna do a stream first when I finally like know exactly what I want to say, but I'm gonna then make a video off of the stream, just so everybody, including people who don't watch the live streams, will be informed in regards to the channel. But yeah, with Genovich though, I think he's serious. Like I don't think Genovich would have made that video. Like I don't remember what Mordian says after this on this specific point, so maybe he says something different or says the same thing I'm about to say. But I think Genovich is 100% serious. I think he's done. I think he's walking away. Edward Bailey with the super chat, brother. Thank you. Side note, Mordian is live. Love both your stuff, by the way. Yeah, and I love Mordian's stuff. And again, link to Mordian's channel is in the description. When you guys want to go check it out, if you have not checked him out before. Outside of this back and forth, Mordian is probably, again, one of the best 40k content creators you will find. Especially if you don't like people like me, who are a bit more controversial. And, you know, aren't afraid to speak our minds. Not that Mordian is. It's just Mordian would rather not talk about stuff like I do. He would rather focus on the positives, you know?
Sure, he's having some problems as well. But I think it's probably the fact that he's got a 4-month-old daughter. He's probably not getting any sleep. And it's probably gone a bit down the rabbit hole. And also I feel like maybe Yanovich has been loaded up with some shit bullets. But
okay, shit bullets. I'm not sure about that. Wait, is he saying that he feels like Mordian, Genovich has been lied to? Or I don't know that term. Shit bullets. British people or UK people. I know there's at least one of you in the chat. What is that? Is that a term? What does that mean? Loaded up with shit bullets. Nico says, I'm also shifting content-wise on my other interests. Yeah, I think a lot of 40k content creators are definitely, at the very least, considering walking away. Because after what happened to a Border Prince and Genovich's announcement, I think a lot of people got shook by that. A lot of people in our space got shook. I'm not gonna pretend that shook me. But not because I'm afraid of legal action from GW. I mean, that's always been a risk. Like, if you do 40k content, just know, it doesn't matter how nice you are. You could be as nice as Valric. They have that motherfucker blacklisted, okay? Someone who simps for them all goddamn day, they have him blacklisted. So you're not safe. No one's safe from GW. They are the penultimate shitty company in our space for wargaming. But, yeah. Shit bullets is a whole thing. Basically, it's getting wound up until you fire off a bunch of negativity. Oh, okay. So he's saying Genovich is full of it. Suppose is a whole thing. Basically, it gets okay. Yeah, I definitely disagree with Mordian on that one. Then I don't think that's the case. I think Genovich is seeing genuine issues and he's just tired of it. I think he's fed up. Now it remains to be seen if that's permanent. By all accounts, Genovich may come back. I don't know. I definitely get the vibe he was 100% about that. I don't think he's just tired. I don't think Mordian means it this way. I think given like what he's talked about in the stream right now, he's probably a little bit more like defensive might be strong, but he might be more on like edge when he's talking about this. So it definitely sounds like he's disregarding Genovich's concerns, which I hope that's not what he's doing, but just not lies, just being in a negative space. Okay, yeah, but if the shit bullet analogy, though, is that, like, they're just firing off, like, nonsense, I don't think that's what Genovich did. I think Genovich listed genuine, correct problems that he's noticing and dealing with in 40K and with Games Workshop. That's perfectly fair. Like, I don't think anything Genovich said in his last video was... I wouldn't describe any of it as something like that, like firing off shit bullets or just firing off negativity. I think he was just being honest. I think he's done. I hope he's not, genuinely. I do hope that Genovich, at the very least in his personal life, content-wise, I think he's I don't want to make it. I don't want to sound like he's making the right move, but I think he's not. He's not making the wrong move. I will say that by choosing to drop 40K altogether. I just hope he doesn't abandon it on on his personal front. Obviously, like if he doesn't want to support GW, don't buy their minis, don't do it, buy their books, get all that elsewhere. But I just don't. I just hope that passion isn't completely dead. Because for me, I hate GW with a passion. I pretty much never buy their plastic kits anymore. I'm not quite on a boycott anymore because boycotts don't work. But I'm at the point where the only time I get plastic minis at this point is when a family member gifts them to me. Otherwise, I just 3D print my models. Like that's kind of it. Yeah, I just do my own thing with that stuff. But Genevieve, I don't know. I hope his passion on his personal front is regained, and he still, I'm pretty sure he has 3D printer, but even if he doesn't, I hope he still like has his armies and still plays with friends and still has the old codexes, like. Hope he still has his old codexes, whether that be 3rd edition, whether that be 4th edition, 5th edition, 6th edition, 7th edition, whatever his favorite edition is. I hope Genevieve, I hope he still has it, and I hope that passion, at least on the hobbyist front, returns, even if the content creator side is dead to him. Like, I do hope that, because I don't know, for me, I don't think I'll ever quit 40K in regards to like my love and passion for the books I've read, for the armies I've painted. I don't think I'll ever lose that. As much as I hate GW, I could still engage. The beauty of a tabletop hobby is you can still engage with all of that without giving them a dime. Without ever having to walk into a Warhammer store. Hell, it's the upside with a hobby like this is not being bound to, to their teat. Anyway, so I think I'm going to let it play a little bit more, but assuming that's the end of Mordian's response to me, I think we'll call it, and then I'll open up for the call lines. I think FSM would stop me buying any minis from them ever again. That would definitely stop me. I would go out of my way to make sure every single family member who's ever bought me a mini knows never buy another one ever again for me. I would go nuts with that. I would like, if you buy me a mini, you better bring the receipt. I better be able to return it, and I won't talk to you for like a week. FSM, I would still have my existing hobby. I wouldn't throw anything out, but I would never engage with another new 40K thing again. Doesn't matter what it is. I will use my 3rd or 4th edition codexes. I will play my 7th edition codexes and rulebook. I will play any edition older than the one where they introduced that shit. It's not a matter of if, it's but when. How much you want to wager? Had you said that 6 months ago, I would have said you're right. I wouldn't wager anything. I'd say it is a matter of when. Now, it may be a matter of if. It may be. Because after all the shit they got for the female custodies, and they're still kind of getting, I think that there's a chance they might not do it. I don't know how much I'd wager on it, though. I will say the percentage is still in the camp of that they will eventually do FSM. But there's more. It's like that Gandalf meme. Hope rekindled. Hope's been rekindled. There's that meme there. It's like I kind of have hope that because of the Overton window shift that happened after the Trump assassination attempt. After that, I think that I think there's been such a shift culturally, not just in the US, but in other places, that GW, if they're at all aware of it, will hesitate to do that. So I'd say it's a 75% chance that they do FSM, 25% chance they don't. I hope that continues to shift away from FSM, but we shall see. I may be putting too much faith in In the community awareness that GW has, ADB got more praise, so his influence will grow internally. ADB, yeah. For a second there, I read APB. I might be dyslexic. Also, welcome Core Perk. Core Perk? Did I say that right? I apologize if I didn't. Amazon were the ones that asked for GW to have. Do we have that confirmed? I don't know. I know that was like twisting around the community a little while ago, but do we have like screenshots or anything to confirm that? Or is that just like an inside source type situation? Because I don't know. At this point, I have no faith in when people say inside source. I just really don't, because I've heard that so much, and then things end up being wildly different from what the inside source said. I don't know. I don't think you can trust that. But it depends. If I miss like a screenshot, right, of like an email or an internal thing from GW, that's entirely different. Like, all right. So I think
I will come back to the whole shit bullet thing in a minute. Yeah. So again, these I'm not. Some of these points are good, but it's interesting how like it's not what I was talking about, and yet people have sort of come in and sort of they're fighting their demons. Does that make sense?
okay. So yeah, he's definitely done with like my portion. Okay, so that's like my piece spoken on Mordian. Sorry, I gotta take my headphones off. Ugh, it's hot here. it's like 80 degrees. But yeah, that's my response to Mordian to kind of wrap things up. I don't have any issue with Mordian, personally. I don't have any grudge. I don't hate him. I don't have any problem with the man. I think he is great. He's probably one of the better 40k content creators, especially if you don't like the culture war stuff, especially if you don't like controversy, especially if you don't like someone like me. He is the go-to guy. He does awesome streams, paints minis, talks lore, less so that one. He talks the tabletop. He talks Imperial Guard. He talks shit to the Tau. That's always a win. You know, this guy is awesome. There's a reason I've been a channel member of his for exactly a year and 10 months. There's a reason I support him. There's a reason I love this man a lot. We're friendly. I almost said, we're on good terms like friends, but I don't want to overstep. Obviously if Mordian were to be like, hey bro, you want to be friends? Like, yeah, I'd go for that. But I don't think we've ever had that conversation. But in regards to as a content creator and as a guy, I think he's awesome. And I think generally speaking, you can't get much better than Mordian out there. So yeah, link to his channel in the description. Support him if you feel like supporting him. Check out his other content. And again, outside of this, I have nothing but praise for the man. Nothing but positive things to say. This was just one half, I would say half negative, like interaction back and forth, but I'm happy to say I think it's resolved. So, but as far as I'm concerned, I've aired my counterpoints. We'll see if he responds to this. If he doesn't, perfectly fine. He said his piece. I've said mine. If he does respond to it and it's just agree to disagree, fair enough, or like it's anything like that, so be it. If it's a more serious response, obviously I have to do a follow-up because I'm going to defend my points if I have to. But, I'm happy to let things lie if necessary. But yeah, no hate, all love. Yeah. So I think we're going to open things up to the call lines. We're opening up things to the call lines. I actually might have forgotten to prep the open mic room. Hold on, let's switch to it. Yeah, I forgot to I meant to change that. Hold on. Let me switch it to the appropriate topic image. Yeah, we'll do call lines for, probably about an hour. Tops. There we go. Boom. All right, let me put my headset on. So, if you guys want to call in and talk about this topic, this is the topic of the stream, obviously. But if you guys want to just say hi, catch up, check in, have a brief convo. I'm going to time limit everybody. I'm not going to say for how much. Because I want to be flexible with it. I want to be like, all right, you got 10 seconds, go. But, yeah. Let me jump over to the Discord. I don't think we will see screenshots. I doubt we would, even if they were there. Asmogan screen name is just useful. The Amazon rumor sounds as much cope as the intern rumor. What's the intern rumor? I don't actually know that one. Anyway, let me pull up the Discord. Alright, where am I? There we go. Alright. Okie dokie. Sorry, I'm prepping everything here. Alright, so if you guys want to participate in the call line Discord, and you want to call in, have a convo with me, the link to the call line Discord is in the description. I will real quick share it in the chat. So hold on, let me share it in the chat here. So feel free to click the link and jump on in. We're happy to have new people come in, talk, converse, have a back and forth if you would like. And yeah, start in the general waiting room, which I accidentally clicked into. Whoops, my bad. There you go. So start in the general waiting room, then move up to waiting call room 1. Sorry, waiting call room 3 is the next one for the general waiting room, 2 for the second, and 1, and then I pull from 1. It's like a line, so back of the line is general waiting room if all 1, 2, 3 are all occupied. From there, I expect you guys to, properly order yourselves. So the first caller we have is Trip. Trip, can you hear me?
So, start in the general waiting room, then move up to...
I can hear me.
Yeah, I just
All
gotta mute the video now.
Okay. How you doing?
Fine.
Goody, goody.
Well. Oh, by the way, that rumor, it was a rumor that it was a employee who put the female custody thing in a
well, that thing Bo talked about.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No,
Yeah.
Okay. I know that one. Yeah. I didn't believe that to begin with. I didn't believe the rogue intern story. I do think that was cope.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily fully believe the Amazon one either.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that when I was hearing that go around, that's a theory, but I don't think that's the case. I don't think an intern would have been, because it's more than just an intern looking at it and having it go forward, right? Lots of people check like the codexes and check the new books and everything before they go out. So several people had to have signed off on it before it went out.
Yeah. But that was the quick little answer to that small little question you had.
All right, thank you. So, have any thoughts about the Mordian video or stream?
I mean, it's just weird that it's like I don't understand why anyone would just think about miniature quality, about like, it's a kind of weird thing to think that what anybody would ever think about only.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a lot of the time, like when we talk, like we have like our intent in mind, and in this case, Mordian had like, okay, like I'm only talking about the tabletop, so I think he just is like, that's what I'm thinking, so that'll come out in my words, and it just didn't. I think that's what happened here.
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes a little more sense. Yep, but yeah. Yeah, I was just excited to get on.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Video. Yeah.
No, no problem. Well, if that's all you have to say, hope you're having a good day.
Yeah, just let the other two get something.
All right. Well, have a good day, Trip.
Yep.
All right, I will pull in our next caller then. Trip, everybody. And now, Nostalgia Vivek. The man between the two castles. How are you? Oh, he's still muted.
There we go.
There we
I've
go.
got like a billion tabs open. Hi, yeah. For the videos on the stream stuff, I think he mostly does his content unscripted, and because there's way too many similarities between his style in videos and style on stream, and I think that really did harm his point and like the way he was trying to get it across. Even on stream, it took longer than just your section to actually finally start to get his point across a little bit better. And I think it's just because he's wording it a bit strange and a little bit unclear.
I certainly
but
think so in regards to the point he said he was trying to make, or the intent
Yeah.
he was trying to make.
yeah, it it's weird. In the video, at least on stream, he said that when he was talking about Games Workshop, he wasn't talking about the entity of Games Workshop. He was kind of talking about the community, which I don't know why he didn't just use the word community, but it's a little bit unclear, and I think he could probably benefit from doing a bit of scripting, especially on a video when he's talking about something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
if I had to give a tip on that one, because sometimes when I have to, like when I do my lore videos, I do a full script. But when I do like my news videos, which I want to do less of, because usually when I have to do them, it's only ever like
Not good.
bad shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I usually will have like a note document up, and I'll have bullet points. I'll be like, okay, here's the things I gotta hit on.
I think he possibly had notes. I just think he's a bit. I think he can be a little bit imprecise with his with the way he word things sometimes, because that happens even with more basic stuff on stream. And yeah, I just think you could probably do with a more full script for a video like that. But the main reason why I've joined is actually just to talk a little bit about the differences between like the UK hobby and how it seems to be in America.
All right, yeah, I'd love to.
In the UK, pretty much everywhere you go, because high street culture is still, it's even still doing pretty well here, but especially the past, like if you go 15 years ago and further, it was, like every Saturday, most people were going out to the high street. And there was most towns and cities have a Games Workshop or Warhammer store, like just there, that you can just walk into and see. And a lot of people who do the hobby here started as a kid. I don't know how many people I've met who started later than university in the UK. There's not many. Most people started as a kid, fell out as a teenager, came back in as an adult, or just started in university.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where in America I see a lot of adults getting into it, whereas here I think it's possibly because it is a little bit cheaper here than it is in America as well. Like the cost isn't as bad. That people seem to just start it a little bit earlier, and because of that, because of the constant sort of presence of the shops, it is mainstream here. Like most people know about Warhammer in the UK. Most people might not know what it is, but most people know about it. Like because they'll see the shops, they'll be like, oh, it's that thing that they sell in that shop on the high street. Yeah, it's them plastic soldiers. Oh yeah, my brother used to play it, or my cousin did. Like, or it's one of those things where like most people know what it is in the UK. And that also does come across in like how we interact with the hobby, and like you said with what like he said in the video with how the differences we talk about politics. I've never had a politicized moment in my whole hobby in real life.
I didn't used to.
I've been in about 18 years.
Yeah, I didn't used to. So in my case, I got into it as a kid, not as a little kid. I first got into Warhammer when I was 12 or 13. Yeah. And I got into it through a friend who got into it even younger. In his case, he was raised around it. His dad was a hardcore 40K fan, and got him into it as a little kid, and like they played games together all the time. They had a huge open concept like basement where they played games on these two fold out white tables with this terrain. They had huge point is, like, he got me into it on a whim when we were first entering high school, it was our freshman year of high school. And I was just telling him about like all the sci-fi I'd gotten into and how I'd kind of watched everything. And he got me into it after that when when we both realized there's one sci-fi I didn't know about. And, so in my case, I can't speak to all Americans. And I will say it's really hard to really say it's like America and then there's UK, cuz in America we have 50 UKs, right?
Yeah, I think it's actually more of a UK rest of the world type of thing.
Probably more so that I would argue. Cuz here most of the people, like outside of me and Dan, I would say, yeah, most of the people I've encountered at the hobby stores since I was little were adults. Most of the people who were getting into it in 40K back when I was younger were full grown. And outside of me and my buddy Dan, at hobby stores anyway, I think I maybe saw 2 other kids here or there. Outside of that, it was, yeah. So I think that analysis that it's mostly adults getting into it here, that's true. And that is because of what you just stated. Like, we don't have a Warhammer store around every corner. Like, in fact, I'd never seen one.
I have 4 within like a 30-minute drive of me.
Jesus.
Yeah. I also got in through my dad. Like, my dad, he played Rogue Trader. He got my brother into it, who was a little bit older than me, and then I got into it not that long after. I was about 4 or 5 when I got my first minis. And it is just all like almost it's almost like generational and familial how people get into it here. And it'll probably start happening in America as more people get into it as adults, but here they've got, like, there's all sorts of different, like, there's Warhammer clubs in most schools. Games Workshop will give them free models and paints to run those clubs. I know I helped run one. They have on Sunday mornings in most Warhammer shops. That's when kids go in to learn to play. That's what I did in 5th edition. It's like,
this is gonna
getting
sound
kids
cynical.
into the hobby is so.
This is gonna sound cynical, but I do mean it as a joke. But get him indoctrinated early.
Yeah, they got to get them early. Got to get them hooked early, and that's what they do. That actually it's funny actually that one of the kids at the Warhammer club that I helped run was a Muslim kid. He was only about 11. His Space Marines were anti-Zionist Space Marines. Their chapter symbol, like the sort of like red circle with the single diagonal line through it that you get on like no entry stuff. His chapter symbol was that with a Star of David behind it.
That's fucked.
It was my last day at that school, so I looked at it and was like, "This isn't my responsibility anymore," and then left.
Sometimes just there's a landmine you don't need to step on.
Yeah, so was like, you know what? I'm out of this.
Oh, good God. That's hilarious. I would love to see that at a tournament, but if that happened at my local tournament, I know 3 people who would schizo out. Wouldn't even laugh at it. Just go lose their shit.
It would probably be a little bit more acceptable here.
Probably. I'd imagine. Don't you get? I know it's a meme that the UK is like got a huge Muslim population, but is that extremely true still, or?
It depends on where you are.
Okay.
Most towns and cities will have a population within the inner cities, and there is a few places like small population towns where they are the majority. Very few though. But like, I'll actually use the example of Nottingham. Nottingham, I think, is about 20% Muslim. And that's like it's not a very big city, but it's one of the larger cities in the UK.
Wow. So it's not entirely just a meme.
It's not entirely just a meme. I mean, but the wider UK, I think, is less than 10% Muslim, I think.
Okay.
15% at the most. It's still, the largest single group is still Christian.
I mean, I'm biased when I say this, but good.
Yeah. Atheists will probably overtake it by the time the next census, though.
Mm.
But as for demographic stuff like that with the like religions, the Catholic Church is actually currently the largest Christian group with like our age group, because the Anglican Church is a bit woke, so it's failed in like a lot of people's views, and sort of either left or when younger people have converted to being faithful, they're often more conservative. When you convert, you're normally a little bit more conservative, and so they go to a more conservative branch.
Yeah,
Because even Baptists here, like Baptists in America, quite conservative. Baptists here, they actually lie about illegal immigrants converting to Christianity so that more of them can stay, and also so they can get their numbers up. There was a big scandal in my local area actually about 2 years ago for that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway. Sorry.
got a bit sidetracked, didn't we?
A little bit. Okay. But yeah, back to, the cultural differences a little bit. Yeah, with America, if like, again, with it being so big, it's really hard to like narrow down like certain things across the board. But you're definitely right about mostly it's adults getting into 40K here. I will say that there is some like generational things already starting. Like I at my local LGS, I already know 2 families where like the dad is introducing his kids to 40K there.
Yeah.
And like last tournament, they came and watched the whole day, and we played for like 8 hours, and the kids were engaged the whole time.
Yeah, at my locals, there's 2 like teams when it comes to like doubles who are father and son. One of them is like a son who's about 19, and one of them's a son who's about like 12. He cheats a lot.
Bastard.
The 12 he plays Death Guard and he cheats.
I'd call that out so fast. I'm not the kind of guy who will call the judge over for anything, but if I catch you like cheating, and I usually do, like if I'm playing a tournament and there's stakes, I give you 2 shots. It's like, okay, I give you a warning, and then the second time I'll tell you directly. It's like, listen, if I catch you do that a third time, I'm pulling the judge over and I'm disqualifying you.
His dad's such a great orc player, though. I'm pretty sure it's him who has he has an orc stomper painted like it's wearing a football outfit, like a football strip.
I should have done that. Mine's just got purple, gold, and lead belcher paneling.
Mine's grey currently.
Paint it.
I recently got an airbrush for my birthday, and so I think
you can do fancy stuff to it too.
I think I'll be painting it soon / eventually.
Share it on the Discord when you do it, because I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I will when it gets done. Which don't put any time scale on that.
Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up in regards to like the differences between UK and the US, or worldwide anyway?
Yeah, I think the main one is just when people get into it, and then just general sort of cultural differences around politics. I think those are the main ones, but because chances are most people in the UK who are adults who are playing have been in it way longer, and so they have some of the more old hammer sort of leanings. Obviously, a lot of people who drop out, like in like their sort of like late teenage years, and then come back in, they might be a little bit more on the new hammer side. But generally speaking, a lot of people have been kind of consistent fans, even if it's not through models, it'll be like through games and stuff like that, from being quite young.
Yeah, I will say that is definitely different here. Outside of me and my buddy Dan and one other kid I knew, yeah, it's pretty much all adults.
I think price is probably a big reason, because
it's a huge
especially
one.
when I was first getting in, you could go into the shop and for £5 you could buy 3 Space Marines, 3 Chaos Space Marines, or 5 Acadians.
For 5?
Yeah,
I can't even buy 1 for 5 right now.
Yeah, I mean now for a £5 you can get like 2 paints.
I no actually
2 pence
here
and told
here
to come back and
at
buy a
least
codex.
at least in my local area, you cannot get a paint pot for $5. They're $5.99. A paint
In
pot is
in
$5.99.
the actual Games Workshop stores, they'll do a I don't know if they do it in America, but they do a promotion where, and it's just constantly running. If you buy 10 paints, you get your most expensive one for free. It doesn't count for spray paints though.
I
did try
can't
that.
say whether the Warhammer stores here do that or not, but my LGS, which is also a shop, no, they don't do that.
Yeah, the my LGS doesn't do that, but my LGS already does like a nearly 25% discount on everything. So
that's nice.
I don't think I want I don't think I want to take any more money off them.
Yeah, my LGS, like the one cool thing that they do is for tournaments sometimes they'll put a box up as the prize. Especially if it's the 2K tournaments. 1K they usually do in-store credit, but if you do 2K tournaments, like I got a combat patrol.
Yeah, my local does store credit. But they'll do give, like when the Emperor's Throne box came out, there was a guy who goes to the store and plays. His daughter has some sort of, has like a condition, and if she doesn't receive like care and treatment for it, like he might not be able to come to the tournaments because he wouldn't be able to spend too much time around other people to then go home to her. But also she likes to come and watch or something, and so like Wall donated a bunch of money to like a charity that deals with that specific condition, and then it was entered into a raffle, and someone won a Emperor's Children Army box.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, so they do stuff like that. I mean, if my brothers are correct, my local is turning over over £1 million a year. So I think he's doing quite well for himself.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's insane how much business he does. But he's in a sort of like he's in a town that doesn't have a Games Workshop, and he's also like one of the highest discounts in the world in a place where Warhammer's already fairly. I mean, I say cheap. It's not cheap, but it's where Warhammer's already the cheapest.
I mean, it's not like I've actually sat down with a friend of mine in the UK. His name is Nathan. I don't know if he's in the chat right now, but he was earlier. Nathan X2000, great content creator himself, by the way. If you ever want to watch some fun videos, but I've actually sat down with him and we've done price for price comparisons, and I'm like, motherfucker. Same exact box, almost $10-15 more in the States.
Well, my place, you can get like some like minor name character like a Chaos Space Marine's Master of Executions, £15.
I can't even get an HQ here for that cheap. If I buy a single HQ off the shelf, it's fucking it's $25 usually for an HQ on its own.
Yeah, I mean, I'm too used to the to those prices, to like those third party prices now, because I went into a Games Workshop. I was out with some friends and we're walking by, and it's hard to kind of not go in when you're just walking by, because the people who run the shops are they're great to talk to as well. So I just went in, I was showing my friends Warhammer because they knew about it, because people who doesn't in this country anymore, but they'd never thought about it. One of them kept picking up models. I keep telling them off, but I was showing around, and I was like, you know what? I've been in the shop for about 40 minutes. I've been talking to the guy. I'll just buy a sorcerer, and it was like £24. I was like, fucking hell! I'm like, never buying from Games Workshop again. Go back to me local.
Good lord.
Yeah, some of the. I think in some ways though, I think the massive discount that my local does is a downside, considering how many armies I have, and how much unpainted I have.
It's caused your collection to inflate a bit.
Yeah. I mean,
I know that feeling.
army boxes for like 115 quid is like pretty good. So
yeah, they're 145 here now. Actually, I think they hit 150 recently. I'd have to
Is
double
that the
check.
army boxes or the combat patrols?
That's the. Oh no, that's the combat patrols. Wait, what are your combat patrols over there?
They're £100 from Games Workshop.
A flat 100?
Flat 100. I remember when I first started buying more. When I was in university, they were 80. So they've went up £20 since then, which is crazy. But from my local, I can get them for less than 80.
Damn.
I'm normally about £77.50.
I'm
which
just saying,
is
if you were to
pretty good.
buy it, if you wanted to make some money, dude, just buy some of those boxes and then call us Americans and be like, hey, you want to buy some Warhammer?
Because of the prices, they're never in stock. My local does have an overstock of the new Chaos Knights, though, because some scalpers contacted them to buy some. And so they increased their order, but then they found out they were scalpers, and they were like, are you scalpers? And the scalpers never came and picked them up, so there's just...
Wait, they didn't
about
sell them
20 of
after they found out they were scalpers?
No.
Is this a Warhammer store?
Well, it's an LGS.
Oh, okay. So it's not a Warhammer brand store.
They don't... they prioritize... even when it comes to ordering stuff, they'll prioritize local customers over customers a few counties over.
I wish we had that. We don't have anyone that good.
They run my local LGS runs the shop really, really well. But there's another big discount retailer here called Wayland Games. They are kind of like our version of is it War Games Portal? They're kind of like our version of that. They have bought stock from my LGS because of how cheap it is.
Gotta say that business.
Yeah, they do really good because if you are a merchant, you can put in a wholesale with them and get it at wholesale. That's probably how they make loads of money. Damn. He's also a computer repair shop as well because he just does everything.
Oh yeah, my LGS also is it's a phone repair and phone clean thing.
Is that just a thing that they're just like?
I guess. To be fair, I guess it just kind of. It just kind of. I think it's like a natural flow for nerddom. It's
what I have noticed is that sometimes I'll search up something that hasn't been sold for a little while because sometimes you can still find one or two. I found the new Demon Prince Sculpt's launch army box about a year ago. I found a local store, not local to me, but a small store, still selling it. They wouldn't ship it out to us though, which was a bit weird. So, but I found somewhere still selling about 2-3 years after that had sold out. And one of the places that occasionally comes up when I'm searching for things that are Warhammer related is a printer shop, a shop that sells printers and does printing for people.
Oh, 3D printing or traditional printing?
No, paper printing.
Okay, just like posters and normal document.
How do you have? But Warhammer will do contracts with anyone who wants their stuff. There's libraries that stock Games Workshop stuff. It's so strange.
I wish we had that kind of stock here. Here you have to find a hobby store or a branded GameStop. Actually, no, GameStop doesn't even hold that stuff anymore. So really, you have to find a hobby shop. If you go anywhere, you will not find Warhammer at Hobby Lobby. You will not find Warhammer at Walmart. You have to go to designated hobby stores here.
Outside of the Comic Patrol magazines, you won't find them in supermarkets. You'll find them in. You used to be able to find them in department stores, but most department stores don't stock it anymore. That's also because department stores aren't really much of a thing anymore.
Oh, I do gotta cut you off, man, because there's been two other people waiting for a while. But good talking to you. Fun conversation.
Yeah, have a good rest of the stream, Matt.
You too. Oh, you have a great rest of your night.
All right, bye.
Baby. All right, that was Vivek. Nostalgia Vivek. Great guy. Awesome guy. And it was a very fun conversation. Yeah, there's definitely a strong divide between how the UK is with Warhammer. I think this does result in a lot of tension between people who are UK based for the hobby and people who are me, American, abroad. Yeah, that does help put a little bit of stuff in context though. I guess that would explain why I like a lot of like UK. Because now that I think about it, Valric and Mordian, and I think Auspex. I don't know this for a fact for Auspex anyway, but like they're UK based, and the way they approach the hobby is very like not innocent. Innocent is not the right word, but they're very. They like to preserve the more innocent side of it. I think like they like to focus on any like just like the pure enjoyment aspect of the hobby. So that does kind of give more context to it. Doesn't make me like Valric any more than I already don't, but it does help put some things into context with him. Certainly, it's interesting. All right, I'm gonna pull in. Karn is next, but I thought Dasrat was in there before Karn. So Karn, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer because I'm pretty sure Dasrat was waiting before you. He just didn't go up to call room 1. Hello.
Yeah, I was went to the take a whiz. That's why.
Welcome back from the wee wee. How'd it go?
I scrambled out of it. Thank you.
Good to know. So thoughts on today's topic, which was Mordian Glory stuff, or do you have something else you want to talk about?
Honestly, wanted a bit with Mordian, and I get what he was going, that he wasn't talking about the aspects you brought up, but the fact remains, like, his angle of GW is not evil. I understand him wanting to focus on one aspect of them, but saying that they aren't without encapsulating everything, I don't think was the right move on his part. It was correct of you to point out all that stuff, and frankly, I do love Mordian as well. Great man, I love his stuff, but I think he needed to broaden his perception on that matter, particularly with that declaration.
I think that's fair. And generally speaking, I would say, like, anytime anybody, like, this is not Mordian specific, but anytime anybody like makes like a broad statement like that, even if like everything else you say around it is it like in Mordian's case, he really didn't get across like his specific like sect of the hobby he was talking about. But irregardless of that, like, if you make a broad band statement like this company is this way, or this, like, if you make a totality statement, I guess I'll call them, like that, like GW is not evil, you're inviting people who feel quite differently to bring in their points, even if their points and their perspective don't align with what your exact angle of it is. Like, you're always going to invite that stuff in, especially with a company that's this against their own community. It's a consequence of it. I don't like take back like anything I said. In fact, today's stream is about stressing like I still think it was valid given what he said in his video, and I'll give him this, like, with his intent, like, that's one thing, but what he said, with his intent, he shouldn't have said that irregardless. Even if he had made his point a little bit better, yeah, he shouldn't have said GW isn't evil. Granted, he didn't say, and I don't want anybody to think like I said that he said this, but he didn't say they were good, but saying that they aren't evil despite some nasty shit that they've done, I just don't know how you do that.
Exactly. Basically, the exact same boat as you on this one. And with the whole thing, sorry, the thought just escaped me. I was
No, I'll give it a second.
with the thing you said. No, GW's community. At this point, I don't think we how to put it, our kind. Let's put it like that. We are not their community. I'm not sure if you saw V's video where he covered this post on the matter, where someone was basically saying that at this point GW wants to get rid of the old community because they can't milk us essentially as effectively, and that's why they've also been changing the lore in such disgusting ways to make the old fandom just drop it, so they can just get the new blood hooked on it and get their margins bigger in that regard.
I have
And
not
following
seen
up-
V's video, but I have already, like, I've already had the same brain bug that he has with that by the sounds of it. I think I think a lot of people who've been paying attention to what they've been doing over the last couple of years would have the same takeaway as that, because in just like the last 2 or 3 years, they've done a lot on like every front to push away traditional fans. Like there's the lore changes, obviously, the big one being Femstodies. But there's also like things that aren't even on the lore front that they've done to really piss off old fans. So do you remember when they took away box dreads, as well as shortly after
yeah.
the box dreads, they took away like not most, but actually no, I think it is most of the old firstborn kits for Space Marines.
And they just put the Primaris slop, even with dreadnoughts. I can't explain it. The box dread is adorkable, but the quote unquote replacements they put for it, they just feel wrong, like in the lame sense.
I agree. I think that when they did, because they could have, like, we always knew that they were going to sift out firstborn in favor of Primaris. We all knew that was going to happen, but they didn't do it for numerous years after. They still kept supporting all those kits. So why did they do it all at once at that time? I think that contributes to like this intent of theirs to push out the old fans. They wanted one big blow to us all at once, and I think that was
exactly, rather than it being a bit of a trickle that we could quote unquote push through. They just went a big wham to just knock out as many as possible.
Yeah, it was like all at once, and it was all the old stuff, and and what adds to it to me to think that that's why they did that all at once. Also, what they said, like when they retired box dreads in that Warhammer post, which was only like a month before they started shelving and like retiring all the other firstborn kits. They said in that one that they weren't planning on doing anything else, or they lied. Like I actually covered it in a video. I don't know what the exact lines were now. I'd have to go and watch my own video for it, but they basically said something akin to the lines of like, "Oh, we're not planning on retiring," and like because with the box dreads, if I recall correctly, they retired also the Stern Guard vets, but it was just those two in that initial wave. It was box dreads and Stern Guard vets, and they're like, by the way, don't worry, if you still want to play a full army without Primaris, you still can. And then fast forward a month, and they just retired like half the firstborn line, except for like tactical Marines, assault Marines, and like one or two other like
Devastator squads.
Yeah, like the bare bones kits, but like everything else got retired. It was,
and they're probably building up to a second something like this, because I don't know if you saw the newest Grey Knights Combat Patrol box, full of quite a few of the old mini sculpts, including their own Cast Firm Dreadnought, and they just have the new Garen Crow with them. I don't remember which creator I heard from. I think it might have been Breakfast with Bando, where he mentioned that this feels, because the Combat Patrol has been the last few of quite a few factions, just feels bleh, particularly because it has the named character in it, so it's not really viable to get more boxes than one. But it feels like they're just trying to get rid of whatever stock they have on hand to clear house, essentially, in preparation for dumping something, dumping the replacement, basically.
Yeah. I have seen the new image. I didn't really fully process it because I've been super busy lately. My day job recently, I switched from night shift to day shift, so my sleep schedule's all fucked up. Plus some
deeply
other
understandable and relatable.
Yeah. So because of that's why I haven't covered like when A Border Prince's channel got nuked. I missed reporting on that, and Janovich announcing that he was quitting. I wanted to make a video on both those things, but I was just too busy and too tired to cover it at the time.
And yeah, that is the other angle in which I have to disagree with Mordian on, particularly Janovich, because I don't want to speak for the guy, but I have talked with him, and frankly, it is what most of us are just being betrayed and not really wanting to deal with GW's bullshit. Like you said, he's not gonna probably not gonna like yeet all of his stuff, but at least from my perception, so I'm not saying anything for him. It's just I don't think he's going to be returning to it, to this particular franchise, so to say. Because frankly, he's got quite a few other nice things lining up. He's probably going to be making something of his own, which, if
I'm
anything,
doing that, so.
he is quality. So anything he makes, I'm 100% behind. But the whole, with Mordian saying that, oh, he is probably too stressed because of his kid. No, like you could hear it in his voice in that video, and just
Yeah,
listening to what he says is really that betrayal of
I
both the community as a whole, the fan animators, the ones who actually, like you said in your comment, the ones that actually built the brand to the hype where it is today. It stands on the shoulders of people like Yanovich of TTS and Astartes. So just having the GW just descend down the spiral of, frankly, scumminess, as sad as it is to see him go, he's perfectly justified in it.
Yeah. I mean, I stand by that. Like I said, like I was saying, when Mordian was saying that, I think Mordian is dismissing Genevieve a little too readily. To I think the reason Mordian is doing that, I don't think it's malicious. I think he's doing that
Oh, no,
because
absolutely not malicious.
I think he's just, this might be the wrong way to phrase this, but I think he's coping. I think he doesn't want to accept that people are that fed up. So Mordian is just like, he's just having a bad moment. He'll come back. It's like, the best way I know how to put it is like, imagine like you and a bunch of friends like love going to this bar all the time, and you have that one friend who, the bouncer pushes around for no good reason, the bartender's just rude to, or they just have like a bad time all the time, and then one day they get fed up and they tell the rest of the group, listen guys, I'm not hanging out here anymore. I'm done. I do not like it here. Bye. And then the other friend at the end of the bar is half drunk already, looks over, goes, he'll be back. He's just being away. Like, I think that's Mordian. Like, I don't think he's really appreciating how bad things are. I mean, as it is, I with my points that he brought up, like he said like they're all perfectly valid and good points, but he said like, oh well, it has nothing to do with what I said. Like he is in this cognitive point, and it's not just Mordian. I think it's Valric, and it's a series of other creators, people who really attach themselves to their love of 40K. I would say too much, like to the point where they are willing to blind themselves to other things and make excuses, or pretend things are not as bad as they are, because they're just they can't. It's not even really that they won't. They can't. Like there's like a mental block that they can't accept that things are bad, like genuinely bad. They'll like. Did you see Valric's video recently? Before he took
I
it
do
down?
not watch Valrak on point of principle.
Well, that's fair. Valric made a video recently that he like immediately took down. I was able to watch it before he took it down, so you have to take my word for it of what he said in the video. But he laid out like the copyright stuff happening lately. He laid out someone. By the way, he calls A Border Prince his friend in that video. And then he proceeds to say, "Oh yeah, and but with all that said, I'm not gonna change anything I'm doing right now at all. I'm just gonna keep buying minis. I'm just gonna keep doing everything the same." It's like, okay, you just laid out this stuff. Granted, the entire time making excuses or leaving olive branches for GW to take hold of to excuse their horrible litigiousness. And then but even with that, you still acknowledge that they essentially are the result of ABP losing his whole fucking channel, and someone you call a friend, and your takeaway at the end is, oh well.
I don't want you on point of principle for a reason.
Yeah.
What else is there to say?
Yeah, I think there are people, Valric being a good example, and I think Mordian to an extent, that they love 40K so much they cannot separate. Oh, sorry, not separate. They cannot put GW into the box of bad. Like there will always be a reason why, okay, well, this problem isn't that big a deal, or this problem isn't enough to affect my enjoyment, so I'm not gonna, lord against it. There will always be a way to weave or swerve around the controversies. And sometimes it's admirable. I think when it's admirable to do that is when you just don't talk about it at all. Like when you just stick to what you love about it, you make painting videos, or you make lore videos, and you just stick with your lane. And when the controversy stuff comes up, you just don't talk about it. I think that's better than if you bring it up, but then you minimize it or you belittle it. And thus belittle everybody who has a problem with it.
Definitely see where you're coming from. It's hard for me to ascribe such toxic positivity to Mordian of all people, because he's been a very level-headed and realistic about the many stuff he's talked about prior to this. So I don't know.
Oh, well, I don't think Mordian is Mordian's the lesser extent. It's more Valric I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, that angle is obvious, but since we're talking about Mordian, I guess it's also depends on the type of stuff he is, because he goes to tournaments regularly. He has his big Armageddon event, which is really cool, and that's been very successful.
I would love to see that. That would
So I
be
guess
cool.
he's hopefully next year, if we could possibly meet up. But the angle from which I'm seeing, I guess he is more immersed in the currently active aspect of the hobby, and yet he is clinging on for dear life in some aspects to retaining the stuff he likes, his original vibe and flavor with the guard in particular, because they've been hit very hard. And seeing that he is in such waters where it's competitive play, the event itself, and also he does some very fun battle reports with close friends and creators. So maybe he is more quote unquote sheltered from the wider disgruntlement of the hobby. But I don't know. It's a very weird angle to me, and particularly with Janovic, who's de facto the other big guard name out there, at least in my opinion.
I don't know of anybody else big with guard specifically, so yeah, I'd have to give Janovic that.
Is it where Mordian is more on the gameplay side of things, Janovic was more on the lore and the other physical aspects like cosplaying and stuff, because he's made some great stuff on Etsy. Regrettably, he's also been facing some difficulties in that regard. It's just strange to me because to me they felt fairly the same in terms of mindset, reasonability, just approaching stuff from the different angles of where they specialize in. So this dismissiveness, and again, I no malice ascribed to Mordian at all. Too much of a swell dude for anything like that to cross my mind. But just the way he brought it up is strange to me. It confuses me.
Yeah, I could see your confusion. I sympathize. I just with Mordian, okay. Nah, I'll just say I've said my piece with Mordian. I think for the most part with this stream, he's a cool guy, one of the better creators out there, and I just wish him all the best. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I guess the last thing I'll say is, and it's just kind of repeating a point, but I just want to leave it there. But when it comes to his statement with Janovic, I do think he needs to listen to Janovic again. I guess that would be like the last thing I throw out there. Not ascribing anything else, just watch that video and listen to what Janovic says again. And I just don't know how anyone walks away listening to Janovic and thinks that he's anything short of completely done. I don't think it's exhaustion with a baby. I think that's cope. I think that's an excuse rather than acknowledging he has a genuine issue.
And like, if not Janovic himself, listen carefully through the video and specifically focus on his daughter's commentary. Like, she is so expressive, she tells it like it is, simple as.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate the conversation.
That was my pleasure, and have a fine evening.
You as well. All right, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, guys. Then we're going to pull on Karn, and I think that's going to have to be the last call for tonight. Sorry, Undead. I see you're in waiting call room too, but I am running short on time this evening. I do have to get up early tomorrow. Again, yay, morning shift. But I will be right back from the bathroom. and then we will certainly open up to talking to Karn in the chat. All right, be right back. Just gonna run. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. All right, we're gonna pull in our last caller for the night. He's got some slurs. All right, here we go. Khan, my beautiful bastard, how are you?
I'm good. I need to mute the video. So okay. Oh, and sit upright. So okay, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. So that little thing I wanted to talk about is actually like, unlike BattleTech, Warhammer seems to have like a little bit of a problem to like really stand up to GW. Like more so, like if someone raises stink, there are always way more people just calming down the fan base. Because it always seems like if there's like if the fans actually try to do something, they get immediately pushed back for way more fans. The loyalty in the Warhammer community seems to be in the wrong place with that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay, so just to double check, I understand you. You're saying that with the 40K community, whenever there's controversy or issue, there's way more shills, simps, whatever you want to call them. There's more people in the community that will immediately push back against whatever criticism
And the thing is, it's not just the Sims and the shills with Warhammer, because Warhammer has the kind of problems with consumers. Consumer with double O. I'm not talking about customers, I'm talking about literal like Funko Pop consumers who immediately push back. The real fans seem to be almost outnumbered in that regard.
I mean,
Like,
I think it seems like that because of the online space. I would say, like, outside of like the occasional person I have to walk on eggshells around IRL, I'd say at least anecdotally, my experience with like people at LGS is like with the Fem Studies thing. I asked some of the guys at my shop, the ones I knew weren't crazy. I said, "Hey, what'd you guys think?" And they went, "Nah, it's stupid." And they kind of left it at that. Like they didn't like rail against it, but like just everyday dudes.
Yeah, those are the
wise.
passive parties, because that's also a
Yeah.
thing with Warhammer. There's a lot of passive parties and many anti-customer party. I don't know how to like name them outside of just saying shills, because not all of them are shills. They want Warhammer minis. They want the more Warhammer novels, no matter the
Addicts.
quality. They just addicts.
Yeah, I'd say just call them Warhammer addicts, because that is definitely a thing. I mean, look no further than Valric. He's a Warhammer addict. Like, we
I
know
love
he's not a shill. He's blacklisted.
I kind of prefer the use of consumer, because they are just consuming. They are not experiencing like us as customers.
Right, but consumers use too often to conflate just everybody who happens to like.
Oh, which I
involve
fucking
a thing.
hate.
Yeah, and because of that, I prefer to use the term addict, because it does
Yeah.
more specify them.
A consumer doesn't leave anything behind. It just
Like
he uses something and then he
almost a
puts it
cockroach,
somewhere and then
like a locust.
that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't like, unless something changes with the Warhammer community. GW can just go roughshod. Like, they would need to learn a little bit from the BattleTech community. When BattleTech we say the company doesn't matter. What matters is the fan base. But the community seem like they don't believe you can divorce both of them.
I see. I can't refute that. That is true. That is the biggest obstacle with Warhammer at the moment, as us as a community, and I do hope that it's, again, IRL. I just don't see it as being 100% true. I usually see passive, or I see like passive but leaning towards negative against some of the changes.
Yeah, but those people usually won't do anything because they are not.
That is the biggest problem with this community, 100%. Like, regardless of what aspect do we like, even the people who are outraged most of the time. Like, this is why I gave up like on the boycotting aspect, because it doesn't do anything. Because half the people who said they were boycotting weren't. Let's be honest. Because if half the people who claimed to be boycotting actually were, we would have seen a massive dip in their profit margin. We never saw that. So
that's why I said like most of the Warhammer fans aren't conscientious like that.
Yeah, it's
they won't stop consuming because they still like the tabletop game, or they don't really care about how the novels are written these days. They want to see big space marine go stomp, 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 which can see why.
Yeah.
As a fan of big stompy robots, I also like my robots big and stompy. But if you let GW continue like this, after a while, it's not going to be anything different than Disney in terms of how protected it is and how little fans are able to do. Like, try to do a Disney animation yourself.
Yeah.
That's cease and desist will come. It will strike you before the video is out.
Actually, weirdly enough, I think Disney would be nicer. Because I've seen fan animation of Disney products that don't get touched and they are even monetized on YouTube. Like, people who made fan animations using Disney characters.
I haven't seen those. That's just something I like pulled out because Disney used to be very litigious.
Yeah, I've seen people use, obviously Steamboat Willie's like public domain now, but I've seen people use like Donald Duck, Goofy. I've seen them use even more recent characters like Max from Goof Troop or Peg Pete. And no, not in the R34 way. Like, I have to clarify because it's the internet. But I like people who just making like fan animations that happen to have these characters in them. Obviously, the biggest one is Star Wars.
Fiending about Pete's wife. I remember that.
I remember that too. Well, I as a kid, I just watched Goof Troop, and I actually thought she was kind of scary. But I do remember like on the like first like time like going through the internet about Goof Troop though. Some people got some issues.
Interesting ideas.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Some people clearly have some unresolved issues of their past that they're channeling in a fictional character's direction. Yeah, I do think you're right when it comes to like the Warhammer community. This is why like I'm coming to like the point where I'm moving on from 40K content. Because for me, it's not even really the risk of being sued by GW. And again, I'll go over this when I'm ready to do the stream or video dedicated to that announcement. But like for
it
me,
sucks out the passion if you are met
the
with
passion is getting
so much
sucked out,
resistance.
but it's getting sucked out from like every angle. Like there's the angle you're talking about, where like the community just not either being too passive and not giving a shit, like when GW does bad shit, and they don't seem to ever hold the community up to any kind of standard, and or the company who makes the product we love to any kind of standard. But additionally, they defend it. Like they defend the bad practices readily and happily, and always leave 1,000,001 olive branches because they're addicts. They just can't fathom being without Warhammer, and they see any kind of criticism of it as a risk to hurting that. So they just,
I mean, it understands, because it hurts myself that Warhammer is what it is today.
yeah, it's depressing. And
Like I love the universe.
oh,
But
I love it. It's my it was and still in some ways is my favorite fictional universe. It's just like every time, like every avenue of it is being ruined. Like the lore, they're giving less and less of a shit, especially about the old stuff. They're just writing over it, and they don't give a crap, and half the community doesn't give a crap about that. They're retconning things and then lying to us when we ask them, "Hey, why did you do this?" Like with the Fem Studies thing, the community directly asked them, like, "Hey, why did you guys change it?" And they told us, "It's always been this way since the first of the 10,000." And then all the simps came in and said, after we criticized them for that statement, said, "Hey, they just fucking lied to us flat out about shit we know the truth about." Then the simps came in and went, "Haven't you ever heard of a retcon?" Yeah. Like, we weren't asking lore-wise. We were asking why you, company, you, meta-wise, changed this. And their response was, "It's always been this way." And then you fuckers came in and provided a defense they didn't even give us themselves.
And even then, it's said more times than once that the custodians are made after the sun, are made from the sons of Terran highborns. Firstborn sons at that, if I recall correctly.
And they've always been portrayed as all male. That has always been part of their theme. That it's just it's from that aspect. It's from the lore is getting ruined.
How much more complicated it is to make a custodian.
Yeah, the pricing as well. Like the pricing is getting so ridiculous. Like I'm envious of like what Vivek was just talking about. Like he has a discount store near him, and not only is he in the UK where they get favorable prices, even if you do conversion. Like it's not just a currency conversion. No, they are still getting a better deal. But on top of it, to live in a place where you can get a store that's discounted that much. Meanwhile, here in the US, if you want to buy Warhammer products, not only are they full price if you go to any LGS, but sometimes they're marked up because the LGS wants to make money more on them. I've seen that. Like I've seen a HQ at a hobby store, not my LGS, thankfully, but I've been to a hobby store that marked up.
With the way I can see that GW is doing distribution, they are most likely going to sell it to retailers at full price, and then the retailers sell it at you with even higher price.
I don't know what avenue of 40K I'm supposed to latch on to keep going. At this point, like I'll never stop being a fan. I'll never stop painting minis and going to my LGS and playing tournaments. But at this point, it's just going. I'm hitting a wall. Like I don't have any. That's not that I don't have any, but my passion for like the content creation side of it is dying, because
well,
how do you make a lore video where the lore is inconsistent, they continue to ruin it every single day without apology and without hesitation, and at the same time, anyone like you who is critical of GW is at risk constantly of being taken down, and you know the company hates your guts simply because you're not exactly what they want anymore. It's just depressing. And
no, they want the Hasbro Disney crowd.
Yeah, and I'm hitting this point where I'm done, and I'm not done with 40K. Like as I said before, I'm not done. I'm still gonna continue painting minis. I'll even make mini painting videos. Like, how do they copyright? If they ever tried to sue me or IP claim me for a fucking pinning video, I would take their asses to court so fucking fast. I wouldn't even need a lawyer. I would crush them. So they have
Today
no
on
hope for that.
Space Mace,
They
we are going to paint Imperial heavy armor soldier man.
like they have absolutely no grounds with that stuff. But
No,
with lore content, with using their artwork, they kind of do, and they exercise it. And even if you use it in a fair use way, they're relying on the fact that everybody. And this is the thing. This is what makes them evil. They go after people they know are too small to fight back.
Oh yeah.
And
If it's them specifically or the film they have, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
It doesn't, no, because they're not stopping them. They're not mandating to them to do otherwise. And do you think this firm is just doing it on their own for fun? Anybody who has that cope, those legal firms, they've just gone rogue. Bullshit. When
They
is
employ
when
them
have,
for a specific reason.
yeah,
Big companies look into the law firms.
yeah,
They give them parameters and then they let them loose.
right. And Havoc says, and that's why that passion should be channeled into something of your own make, which I am doing. That's actually, again, I'll go over it when I'm ready to like organize everything into it is a thing. I'm just kind of giving my off the kilt thing, but I want a dedicated video and I was gonna do it in a live stream. That way, I'm open for like talking back and forth with people about it. But I'm gonna convert that to a video when the time is right. I'm not quite ready yet. I have to get everything ready. But
Like
yeah, but kind of
either make your own thing or do the BattleTech fanbase route. 3D print your own stuff. Use the old rules. Have a cutoff point in terms of lore. I have my own cutoff point with Warhammer 40k. It's like right before the fall of Cadia. Everything after that, in my opinion, is complete utter drag. And just add pieces and that you personally like. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I'm hitting. That's what I'm going to pretty much do, going forward. And I don't think I'm going to do it on YouTube. I think what I'll do for 40k content going forward, and again, we'll go over all this when I'm ready. But the current plan is that I'm just going to switch to doing things that I know legally that it'll be at least very difficult for them to have any kind of claim on. So the homebrew highlight, I think, will be safe because it's all fan art in terms of what I'm putting on screen, and everything else is just my own thing. So homebrew highlights are safe. My hobby love videos that I was doing, I'm gonna continue doing those. I just got to get back on track with them. Checking out people's minis on social media and just kind of giving critiques, giving like compliments and recommendations, tips, that kind of thing.
By the way, I just now saw you put up the Dark Angel Codex. Just that you know how far how long it takes until I see you do something.
Yeah, it's like a 20-second delay. I've tried to fix that. For some reason, YouTube won't let me. I've tried to do a
and also I live on the other fucking side of the planet.
I don't think that's it. I think I've seen it on my front. It's like everything's delayed by kind of a cartoonish amount.
Yeah, I think Twitch has it very good, but I think the delay is around 5 seconds.
But yeah, so that stuff, mini painting, I'll continue to do that on the channel. But I think otherwise, like, I'm not doing lore videos anymore. It's just not safe. Even if you use fan art, I still don't think it's safe. Generally, lore videos are they're kind of, if you're not on the payroll, you're a magnet for trouble.
Yeah, it's difficult. I hope Voldemort can figure it out for himself.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is where he's at currently, but I wouldn't be surprised, nor would I be offended if he jumped on the NDA front, like if that came down to it, because I love his lore videos, and I don't think he'd want to risk all them going up like a Border Princes.
No.
I think that's set the tone. They've basically, what GW has done is the equivalent of, they have a bunch of hostages in front of them. They pulled one hostage in front of the rest of them and shot him and said, if you don't do what we say, that happens to you. That's what it feels like they've done with a Border Prince.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that, honestly, if you hadn't told me that yesterday.
I'm surprised you didn't know about it. But to be fair, I didn't report on it, but that's just because I've been too exhausted and too busy.
God, there are so many Warhammer channels I'm subscribed to. I'm not even following Arch anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So much. Fuck. I'm going now completely German. I have so little free time. I cannot really watch those giant ass lore videos anymore.
Havoc. Speaking of, I did make a submission to a Homebrew highlight a while back. Oh, you did? Which one was it? Because I have two that I have on the back burner but I don't know who made them, so I haven't been working on them. So if you could tell me which one of these is yours, that would help. That way I can make. Carnes is up next because he just submitted all of his, and I've already been working on props for it. And I knew who it was. I knew who made it. So I have two though that I have actually, I need to add that to the form, is people giving me their handle, because I have two that I let sit too long and I have no idea whose they are. So let me pull
Again, I hope I didn't go too overboard with the lore for my chapter. After all, I did write two lore.
No, you're fine. Individual.
I'm working on a second one. It's going to be heretical Iron Hands.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, the Iron Hands are
Knights of
going to get
Shadow.
another L.
Knights of Shadow. Is that one of the two? There it is. Yep, that's one of the ones I have labeled. I have a little note document on it. Don't know whose this is. It's just at the top.
New chapter. Who is this?
I have, yeah, this is one of the two I have. There's another one I have that I don't know who it's from. The Seekers of Redemption. I don't know who submitted that. So yeah. So now at least one of the two I know who. So Knights of Shadow, that's Havoc, so I can work on that one after yours, Karn. I gotta figure out who submitted Seekers of Redemption, because I don't know who the fuck submitted that.
Seekers of Redemption. It sounds like another Dark Angel chapter.
Upon their return to Caliban, yeah, they are Dark Angel's successor. But yeah. Sorry about that. No, it's not your fault. It's my fault for not writing them down when people submit them. Yeah. So now that I know, I'll leave a note. Knights of Shadow, Havoc, and I will put that on the docket.
Yeah. So either put down your name or make it so fucking obvious that it's yours.
I just gotta update the form. I'm gonna add like a segment at the top, like before chapter warband. I think I'm gonna put at the top submitter
No.
to avoid this problem in the future.
Discord handle, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, the plan is to do homebrews, hobby loves, mini painting stuff, and outside of that, I'm just gonna do variety content.
Yeah, focus on the community.
Yeah.
Because GW isn't worth it.
That is very true. Completely outside of the main channel, I'm planning on working on Warglaive Gothic more full time, and I have ways to make that like a regular. I say regular. It's probably going to be a weekly content upload over on the Warglaive channel. That's kind of been dormant for a long time, but given my fed upness with 40K, I have and
it's time to revive it.
It's time to revive it and do full force again. So that's coming back with a full force. I'm actually got something prepped. I actually got something prepped.
Guys, do not mail GW poop, but maybe
don't mail. Do not harass.
Don't harass.
That would be bad.
But if you would,
Shush.
don't.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Karn. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
I hope the fan base kind of turns around and tries to give GW what's for.
I hope so too, man.
Because, like I said, it's the fan base that makes the game going, not the company.
Yeah.
Okay, also, see you later, if we even see each other.
Yeah.
Good night.
See ya. All right, guys. Caboose, I see you're waiting in call room 2. I gotta wrap things up. But if you want to hang out over on the main Discord after the stream, I'm willing to have like a hang out and chat over there. But stream wise, I think my battery is running out, like I talked about earlier. So we'll wrap things up here. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, all the YouTube standard do this, do this, do this. And of course, to say it once more, just to wrap things up, I have no problem nor persisting issue with Mordian Glory. I think he's one of the better 40k channels out there. And certainly with someone like me, considering heavily moving away from 40k and into other things, still partially doing 40k. I'm not abandoning it completely content-wise, and I don't think I ever will in my personal life. But certainly with things as they are, as tense as they are, and as unwelcoming as they are, there's a shift happening. But anyway, Mordian Glory, linked in the description. Awesome guy, great content, love him. And I just had this one disagreement. It's not even a full disagreement. It's more or less just communication issues. But anyway,